Welcome everybody. I guess stream is going on. It's my first ever streaming, by the way. So I decided to stream the final round of the CoachChamps tournament. Very exciting final round. My student Logan is playing right now. He's Logando 2805 here. Coaches standings are incredibly tight. This will be a crazy wild round. And I will be biased, as you can guess. So sorry if I scream at certain junctions, if things go wild. This will be a very wild event, I assume. But I just want to double check whether we are working right now. Yes, I can see this is happening. That's cool. You can give me feedback, by the way, on chat. You can write and I will be following your comments and ideas. I'll do my best to answer them as well, live. Once again, my first ever stream, so sorry about technical difficulties. But this was a very exciting final round that I didn't want to miss it. And now moves are happening. Moves are happening. As you can see here, the bird's eye view, round one. Well, let's jump in directly. And in a later stage, I will describe to you the format and update you on the event. Let's see what he's doing here. My student Logan against Asmoada, also a very powerful streamer. He goes e4, expected Caro-Kann, advanced Caro-Kann. Logan did some prep here. How variation, g4, all expected. Bishop h7, e6 is on the board. E6 is on the board. That's a positional pawn sacrifice. The point if black takes, then this is a buried piece, and white gets a beautiful e5 square for their pieces. So it's all standard positional idea. She responds very fast as well. Wait, she actually spent some time here, right? Yeah, she spent some time. She found queen d6, which is the best move, by the way. Takes f4, all very standard. The idea is to get the knight on e5 as soon as possible. Let's see. This is a live board, by the way, guys. I can sometimes look at the engine lines, but we don't even need that. We can use our brains first, and then maybe we can get engine updates or feedback at a later stage. She's playing very fast, which also means that she's in the theory, right? Well, very sharp position already. The king is on f7, and Logan, my student here, is a very dynamic attacking player. He likes to attack, he likes to sacrifice, so I like that instinct of his, and I didn't want to curb it during this month, so I encourage him to go for these lines that benefits his style, sharp middle games, sometimes sacrifices. We'll see whether he applies those concepts. And I will later on tell you what exactly we did and what kind of areas that we worked on. All right, guys? 95 is on the board. Very standard. If black takes, then white will recapture this way, and this knight will also have difficulties developing, while white also might attack the white king, black king on the f-file. Can you see it, guys? I try to explain the concepts, especially those committal exchange decisions. And she plays very well as well. She doesn't take on e5, which will only give white all the long-term advantages. So I think she's also playing well. That's my hunch when we come to this line. At least now the black knight can go, maybe to e4 outpost. And the bishop can also develop at a later stage. The king can never castle long. That's a good thing for white. And Logan should keep that in mind. That from now on, no long castling is legal. Right, so we'll see whether he remembers that. We can come back to our senses. It's equal material, as far as I can see. But white pieces are sleeping on their barracks. And the same can be said for most of the black pieces. So it's a very sharp variation Caro-Kann. Black has the e6 backward pawn as well. That can be a long-term liability for black. But black has the e4 outpost for their pieces, which might make this plan really juicy for black. Even bishop e4 at a later stage, right? That can become a very good piece in the center of the board. We'll see how Logan handled this middle game. Already he's thinking, which might mean that he didn't see this position before. He was mostly expecting maybe this line. And I think so far, sort of a success for Asmoada to survive until this position and have a time advantage already in this position. I'm checking your comments. Yes. I want to reach this position. Okay, you're asking how it reached this position. Go back. Logan plays e4. Caro-Kann, advanced. He goes for tile variation with h4. All these ideas of trapping the bishop with g4 and h5. Black needs to create the square for the bishop. g4. Black can also go bishop d7 here. and then they choose this line, which allows white to play e6, right? The bishop doesn't control e6 anymore, so white goes for a very standard sacrifice. The point is, of course, is that this is the juicy outpost, and maybe f4s are coming later on with those ideas, and the king is not safe, the bishop is buried, right? That's why she plays very fine as well, queen d6, fighting for e5, looking at these squares as well. She plays well, forcing f4, and then black ends up in this position. Very interesting, very sharp. Logan goes for bishop d3. I like it because he stuffs bishop e4 to begin with, and also he wants to highlight those light square weaknesses around the black king. He's exchanging the bishops to, let's say, weaken the black king and those light squares. If black takes, then our queen is very happy, obviously. I like that move. Again, no engine check so far. I have no idea about the objective evaluation. But I would also say that that's a position that suits Logan in general and his approach to chess middle games. Let's see whether there are any other comments. There are 8 views so far, guys. This is my first ever stream, by the way, on YouTube, so I try to be careful here. We are live, for sure. Yeah, go back to this line. We can maybe have a look at very briefly when Asmada is thinking, like the bird's eye view, and see all 4 boards running here, guys, right? This is the first round, and there are 7 rounds in total. 10 plus 2 is the time control, and coaches are earning points from their students. I will later tell you the standings, and we can actually discuss the scenarios where I might be top 3. There's still a chance for that. But before that, we see a big change of the pawn structure in my students' game. So very briefly, because of this committal decision by Asmoda, we have to go back to this position. Takes. Wow, 2 big exchanges just took place here. You see, she took here, and then she took on e5. And I think Logan is happy to come to this position, guys. That's my hunch, because knight f6 no longer works. That knight is also a trouble piece. The bishop has trouble developing this position. Those ideas are in the air as well. Rook f1's most likely after the f-file has been opened up. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far without having any engine check whatsoever. But I'm liking what I'm seeing for white so far. But time might be an issue, because after queen e7, Logan is thinking. Let's see. The point is, if queen g6, then comes queen f7, of course. I like how he's taking his time. You can even maybe castle short here to get the rook into the game, because after h5, I believe g5 is a very good move. So you will keep the rook buried on h8. The whole idea is to make it more difficult for black, yeah, to get the pieces out. Obviously, bishop e7 might attack the pawn. White must be a little bit careful here. But overall, even casting short is fine, and he did that. I like that. Yes. So this is a very critical final round. This is round number 4. Right? We each had 4 students. 8 coaches in the world came together. We trained our students for 1 full month. And now our students are competing in a round-robin event. And if you look at the standings of the final round, Bottom Chess and Dina Belenkaya and Robert Ramirez are leading with 16 points. Me and David Bruce has 15 points. Arthur's Nixons have 14 points. And Andras Todd with 10 points. And Ben Feingold, I believe, with 8 points so far. So 5 people has real chance of ending in top 3. This is why I try to stream this one, guys. It'll be quite vicious in the end. Queen e7 is on the board. She tries to attack h4. Comes queen g6 check. The idea is to, of course, invade with rook f7. Must be the point. Let's see whether Logan finds that. I like what I'm seeing so far for white. Hopeful start. Rook f7, let's calculate. Rook f7, queen h4, rook f8 check. That looks promising for white. That looks promising for white. What else can we do here? What else can we do? I'm checking the chat, by the way, guys. Thanks. I thought it's a weird position, but it came from a proper opening. Yes, it came from a proper opening. Welcome, HGS. Welcome, Lamiales. You're all welcome here. Yes, stream is working and moves are happening, I assume. Okay, king d8 is on the board. So Logan is still thinking. As you can see here, he is like 5 minutes. Almost 5 minutes, and she is like 6.44, which is a good advantage for her. Let's see what happens here, guys. Very curious, very curious. He must be calculating rook f7. I mean, there's nothing else to calculate, but he didn't go for that for some reason. He didn't go for that. I wonder what he saw. Maybe queen e8 he didn't like so much. The point is if you take on h4, then comes this check. So the queen is sort of overworked. The knight is buried. The knight cannot go out. I mean, look at the black pieces, guys. This was the entire concept of our setup with white. We wanted to play this way to bury those pieces on the king side. And maybe he studied my course, The Art of Burying Pieces. Actually, I don't think so. He already knew this concept in the Caro-Kann of the e6 pawn sacrifice. This very typical concept. If the bishop leaves this diagonal, comes e6. Because otherwise black will play e6 and they have very easy time developing their pieces. So that's a hindrance pawn sacrifice. We are hindering black's development. Beautiful variation. And Logan already knew this. He played many games in this very position. So this is what makes me hopeful here. Pieces are traded off. Queen g6, knight c3. Once again, he played queen e8. Yeah, that's the only move most likely to be able to survive for black, and she's putting some time pressure on Logan, which is the only concern to my mind so far. And the point is, of course, is if the queens are traded off, then the king is safe, unfortunately. So we need to keep the queens on the board for white. And this move also prepares developing moves like knight e7 and bishop out. So it's a very multi-purpose good move for black as well. I think she's a student of Andras Toth, by the way. Let's see what Logan does here. Very curious. Rook f7 is still a thought, by the way, with knight e7, queen e6. Yes. Wow, he's going for that. Just when I was talking about that, it looks like a weird move because the queen is loose. You're sort of entering into a pin, but black pieces are so tight that this is not a problem for white at all, right? But basic calculation is obviously this. Knight e7 attacks the queen, but then comes queen takes e6, and I'm guarding my rook as well. The queen is quite powerful. I like how Logan is playing here, guys. I'm hopeful about this game. And again, the basic highlight is the black's king safety and buried pieces. Maybe right now, once we have our own ideas, we can maybe check Mr. Stockfish and see the objective evaluation. +2 for white. And rook c8 is given as the best move. Okay? So we were correct with our judgment. +2, but it's not winning yet for white, although difficult to play for black, obviously. For example, finding moves like rook c8 is also a little bit tricky, yeah, to find this position. Knight e6, e7, queen e6 was the basic calculation, and good that Logan played it very quickly. I like the speed. I like the speed because he must have seen this move before playing rook f7. Yeah, 3-ply calculation. I gifted Logan my course, fundamental chess calculation skill that he worked on this month. It was all about those 3-ply, short and accurate calculations, while you're always checking the opponent's best moves, just like that, right? And we talked about the importance of this concept many times with Logan, and he's applying it in this very position. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Queen d7 is a good move. They are sort of forcing a queen trade. This was smart. And I'm not sure whether there are tactics for us to keep the queens on the board right now. Yeah, there's no other way to keep the queens on the board. So maybe we have to be okay in settling into a better middle game. Or even the end game, yeah, with an extra pawn. That's exactly what Logan does. And we actually discussed it with Logan as well, you know, because he tends to get good positions. And one of his problems was to convert those advantages. So we also did some targeted training on converting good positions. I gave him some interesting positions that he converted against me. We played some even training games with each other, also with Segayeta, my student from yesterday, to involve also this endgame skills, basic principles, and how to play simple chess to convert our advantages. So let's see whether Logan can convert one clear extra pawn here. My hunch is that white is much better, maybe even winning in this position. We can check. Yeah, Stockfish gives almost +4. Almost +4. Not about the extra pawn, but about piece activity. Can you see it, guys? It's actually, I mean, the pawn is also a huge pawn. That's a protected passed pawn, our extra pawn. Huge. But most importantly, black's long-term problems remain. Look at their pieces on the king side. Now we can invade the 7th rank. We can take on b7, as far as I can see. What else can we do? mean, of course, our knight on c3 is our worst place piece. Logan improves with h5. I like that. I like that. Forcing the knight into passivity as well. And I like how fast he's playing here, because this is sort of normal, right? You can just play it quite fast around here with white, so you don't end up in time trouble. And the knight is now forced into passivity once again. King g2. I like that. I like that. And I like how he played this move very fast. Keeping control. Keeping control. Right? Just improving the king slightly. He discussed this actually with Logan. Yeah, one of his problems was that he was not involving his king in the endgame. We talked about this many times. I think he sort of tries to show a point to me right now. Black is almost in Zugzwang. If the knight moves, then you take on b7. The bishop has no moves whatsoever. The rook is crying on h8, right? Like, you can see the long-term effect of white's positional pawn sacrifice as well. The entire e6 idea is visible in this line so clearly. So she tries to find some nice lines, and Logan improves the final piece. I like that. Because our knight was our worst place piece, he makes a small improvement. Knight is now coming to f4 with devastating effect on the black king. I'm very happy to see this round, although I should mention, yesterday Segayete played a similar game with a completely crushing advantage against the winner of the band, Kiriyama, and he blundered everything in time trouble. He blundered one full rook yesterday on round 1, and he got completely tilted. He was psychologically devastated. Also me, it was so difficult to watch that kind of a loss in a winning position. So never say never. Even on this higher level, around 2000, this is still a big issue. How to cleanly convert advantages. We'll see. Yeah, she starts playing fast, and Logan also plays some very fast moves, which I like. It's about focus, it's about keeping control, it's about not doing something crazy committal, and always blunder checking your moves when it comes to converting advantage. Just small improvements. The bishop was not doing much. He might do something later on. That's why he plays the move bishop h2, for example. Let's see how we'll improve these two pieces, by the way. These two guys. Okay, now it's going for the exchange, which is actually a good thing, because that knight was, to my mind, covering so many squares, stopping our rook from going to a7, for example. So with an extra material, generally, it's a good thing, yeah, to trade some minor pieces and simplify our advantage. The basic problem is domination, of course. Maybe g6 is a problem, though, because that rook will be a little bit active on the g file. Yeah, again, like in 3 minutes, not the easiest one to convert, so I like that he takes his time. But once again, this g6 is slightly worrying me, this g6 move, because that will give activity to the black rook. Okay, black wants to exchange the pieces. It generally favors white, of course. And it's the same color bishops, guys, which is not as drawish as the opposite color bishop endgame. If the bishops will be opposite colors, I'll be slightly worried with white. But the same color bishops, usually decisive advantage ensues. I like e6 to activate our guy as well. Maybe we will place it on e5 on the next turn. And just also involving these ideas to maybe take back with the pawn. Right? One more little improvement from Logan. Bishop f6, I think, is a good try. That's a good try. But obviously now the rook is more happy on the 7th rank. He can have some checking ideas, sometimes bishop d6 ideas. I believe there's a blow already in this position. We'll see whether Logan finds it. It's interesting he didn't go for the rook trade. Bishop d6 wins, right? Let's see if he finds it. Yes, my boy finds it. Bishop d6. It looks like he's trapping the rook, at least, to start with. Let's look at the engine. Plus 10. Plus 10. And look at white's accuracy. 88.7%. And 79 for black. Overall, a very well played game. Very well played game. She's still playing, by the way. Like 1 minute left. She wants to sacrifice the exchange. We take it, of course. Maybe rook a7 here, maybe rook b7. All these moves are actually quite fine. We want to trade more pieces. I also like how he places the king on the light square, so the bishop can never check, right? This discovery never works for black. I like that. And the black king is still cut off. I mean, it's a positional masterpiece. I hope he won't blunder just like Sagaeta yesterday. Sagaeta also, he played a beautiful game and he blundered one full rook in time trouble. I like how Logan still is 2 minutes on his clock. He doesn't panic. Very important. Half a minute left. I like rook c8 check. I like rook c8 check. Let's see whether he finds it. Oh, he didn't find it. Okay. Even this is winning for us. Hopefully he'll win all the pawns. As long as he doesn't blunder one full rook, we are winning. That's the only concern to my mind. Yeah, but again, rook c8 was winning directly. Please don't place your pieces on the dark squares, Logan, so you don't end up in a skewer or something. As long as he doesn't play rook b8 here, I'm happy. One more pawn. You like that? Check. Take. My boy. Very technical. Very technical. I like that. I like that. Transitioning into a winning pawn endgame. And she keeps playing. Improve the king, please. Yes, that's much more technical. She's playing for stalemate ideas. Checkmate ends the game. Beautiful game from Logan. It's a great start. I'm a happy coach to see this game. Shows us his strengths. He's a very vicious attacker, momentum player, but also positionally he improved a lot. He told me that his end game improved, his middle game playing improved, and really showed us beautiful concepts the entire game. Now we can actually use the engine to see his accuracy, right? We can even see whether it's like some mistakes and maybe some inaccuracies. Knight e5 he played, gives a mistake, but in any case, I think that's a very logical move. She also played well. And here Logan finds a beautiful exchange, bishop d3, right? Those light squares are us. This was a clear mistake, right? In hindsight. Because once she refused it, 2 moves ago, now she's going for the same idea, which always helps white. Because look at the black pieces. And look at our activity as a result of f takes e5. This was the whole concept of offering an exchange on e5. The art of exchanging pieces. Not that he studied the course, but he applied all the concepts. Yeah, here in this game, Logan applied 2 arts. The art of burying pieces and the art of exchanging pieces. And he played beautiful calculation game here. Without much, you see, rook f7 was the best move here. I love that. I love that. With 3-ply calculation, that this pawn is takeable. And once the pawn is gone, black has no counterplay whatsoever. Here, we must exchange the queens, and he still converted the extra pawn in a beautiful way. I'm a very happy camper here, because we worked exactly on this concept last month with Logan. We discussed how we can improve our technique, because he was getting good positions from the opening, but had some trouble converting. He failed to convert against me in a couple of simul games. Then he improved on that as well after some discussion, after some practice. So I'm very happy to see this. He played all the natural moves without spending much time. He understood that this doesn't require so much calculation, not critical. And here, yeah, in any case, I think rook f5 is still winning, so it's not a big problem to my mind. And once he comes to this position, made a couple of more technical moves, this all looks good to me. Yeah, the only issue is that here, once he won the exchange, maybe here, yeah, rook c8 I saw, because you just win a piece by force, right? In this line. Both ways. You can take here or you can take there. This is just much more easier to convert for white. He didn't see that, which is fine, because he's still a winning idea. He wants to take all the pawns on the queen side, which he did. He didn't allow his skewer. He didn't drop the rook just like Segata yesterday. And so a beautiful start. I'm a happy coach. Beautiful technique all the way until the end. See how the first round went. Ozek won against Gothenburges. I think Gothenburges is trained by David Prus. Logan won. Okay, Maski also won against Fobe Witte, which is coached by Dina. So Gotham student won against Dina student. So Gotham should be happy. Tom also won. He's coached by Ramirez. All the big coaches won in this case, guys, right? All the contenders won, although Dina and Bruce lost. So Dina and Bruce lost, but all the contenders have won. Ramirez won, Gotham won, and also Ramirez won, and also I won. So there are 6 coaches, as I mentioned, in this space of contention. We can even look at this maybe in the news section, if you can find that. Right? I try to show the current standings if I can. So we'll see. Can you see? It's insanity. It's just insanity. Like Dina with 16 points, Levi with 16 points. They are shared first. Also Ramirez with 16. Then comes me and David Proust with 15 points. And then Arthur Nixons with 14 points. So these 6 coaches has a great chance of ending up in the top 3 spots today, which is why this is a wild, wild round. 6 more rounds to go. And whoever finishes first will gain the 8 points, right? It goes from an order from 8 to 1, as you can see here. If my student wins, takes the first seat, then it gets 8 points and it goes on in this order. So it'll be wild. It'll be wild. I'm checking your messages as well here. Just give me some time, guys. Just maybe like 2 minutes break. Yeah, you wrote some comments. I can see them a little bit late, by the way. I can see them a little bit late. I think you're still following the I think you're still following the old one. I think it's a little bit delayed, this chat, as far as I can see on YouTube at least. Seems like you're commenting on the position on Rook F8 still. Yes. Now going back. Now going back. Home. Games. So round 2 will begin shortly, I assume. I think in 2 minutes. It always starts like half an hour mark. And Logan is playing against Olzek. And Olzek is coached by Nick Sans, I assume. This will be a very important game for us. Asmoda versus Matki Chess. Asmoda is playing against Gotham student, so that will be also critical. Hopefully Asmoda will win, because I'm racing with Gotham here. Kobe Witte versus JJ. So JJ is coached by Ben Feingold, and Dina student is playing with the white pieces. And then Gotham Ruges versus Vitom. Also important for contention. David Proust student versus Ramirez student. This will be a huge battle too. 6 more rounds to go, guys. This is insanely exciting. I'll be back very soon, okay? Hello again, guys. So this is my first time ever streaming, so I have no idea how things are functioning generally. Maybe I didn't even like get a good title on YouTube. Oh no, my title sucks. uh, CoachChamps. Okay. What should be the title, guys? CoachChamps Wild Final Round Action. Yes. Yes, the games are started. Let's see my boy, Logan. Let's do this without the analysis. E4. Just give me 2 seconds, okay? I need to attend to my son. Yes, sorry about that. Let's see how the game proceeds. Yeah, so Java was expected. Let's see what he did. E6, cool. Bishop f5 is nice. Yeah, h5 was expected. Sort of our prep. Knight e7, e4, b5. This is cool. This is good. This is good stuff. I like what I'm seeing so far. I like what I'm seeing so far. Wait, did we just blunder rook e1? We just blunder rook e1, bishop e7, bishop d6. I hope he saw that. I hope he saw that, guys. Bishop e7, bishop d6. Is it knight g8 is the only move? Yeah, that's unfortunate because he didn't spend so much time on e takes d5. I don't like that because now there are queen e3 moves. Obviously, white pieces are still quite stuck here. They need to bring reinforcements, let's say. But after queen e3, okay. But after queen e3, we can't. I mean, we have hard time casting short. So maybe king f8 is the only way. So maybe Logan thinks that king f8 is solving our problems. Still, I would think more with black to counter that position. Hopefully that's part of his prep, by the way, because I gave him a couple of ideas in this line and I told him to explore more. I believe he did some exploration because we discussed, even around here, we discussed the b5 plan after e4. So I assume, because he played so fast, I assume he did some analysis after he takes d5, obviously, because you cannot take back with the c pawn, right? Because that just drops. Knight takes d5 is a real thought as well. Maybe. Although even there, we have the same problem. Yeah, knight takes d5. We have the same exact problem after he takes d5. So, the entire line is sort of hinging on the fact that whether that's safe for white or for black. I'm sort of scared of looking at the engine, by the way, but maybe we should. Yeah, plus 0.8. Nothing big. Nothing big for white. They're not winning. At least that's a good sign. And if you go back to this e takes d5 moment, yeah, knight takes d5 is slightly better, guys, as you can see. Yeah, long castle b5 was much better, you see? So one little move, one little mistake of knight d7, and already e4 is more powerful. So he sort of mixed up his ideas. First he starts with knight d7, then he goes b5. That's a very subtle nuance, by the way. It's difficult to fully understand, even for strong players, yeah, the difference between these two moves. And he takes d5 again. The knight is blocking the queen's access of d5. That's one of the biggest problems with this idea. Unfortunately, guys. He finds knight g8. Let's see what he does, his opponent. Is it? Yeah, I want to flip because I want to look at it from the black's perspective, guys. King f8 is on the board. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. Takes, takes. Yeah, white has the initiative for sure. We will see whether we'll find a nice safety for our king. That sort of hinges on the fact that whether the king can be safely guarded here. Maybe king g7 later on. g6, king g7, maybe. Right, I try to get this rook involved in the game. It will take some creativity for black. You have to get the pieces involved. Yeah. The knight is also not doing much on c3. That's only a good thing for us right now. Knight f4, of course, makes sense. Yeah, if Logan survives this, I will be very happy. The good thing is he has 8 minutes left, so he didn't think too much to counter his position. That's the only silver lining here. Only silver lining is that. Yeah, queen c7 logical, because he wants to get this rook to e8. Must be a multi-purpose move. I mean, obviously you're losing your knight on e7, but I guess that's only momentary. That's not a big deal for Logan. The knight was annoying on f4. I think that's the main point of this move. Also comes with a check, so this tactic doesn't work for white. Imagine, takes, knight takes d5 will be a nice fork, but that doesn't work for white. Can you see it, guys? Rook e7, if you take back with the king, then comes knight takes d5 check, takes, knight takes d5 check, picks up the queen on c7. But very important vision suk. Queen f4 check saves the day for black. Good calculation. I hope he saw that. Yeah, this is worrying for me right now. The knight on e7 being loose, our king is not safe. But if we sort of solve our problems, if we find a nice shelter for our king, I will be also hopeful. I like how fast he played here. Putting pressure on the opponent in terms of time. I'm liking my boys' time management so far, guys. But of course, white will also double up their rook, so that's the bigger concern. What if they simply play rook e2 and rook e1? Not a pleasant position for black. We can even ask the engine. Only 0.7 though. Only 0.7. And the most logical plan is this, of course, for white. There's only single open file. They must double up their rooks. Yeah, that's what it does. Rook e2 must be the same, by the way. I mean, why rook e3? Maybe the position is so bad, by the way, that we should play moves like g5 to chase that knight away. That looks horrendous at some stage, but maybe, you know, follow it up with knight g6 and so on. We need some couple of nice moves on the king side to stabilize. You don't want to allow rook e1, so I hope Logan will spend some time here, because that becomes difficult. I like knight f6. I like knight f6 because he's guarding his rook on e8. The rook on e8 becomes a protected piece. Also, the knight wasn't doing much on d7. Knight c8. I'm looking for tactics for white. It looks like something is creepy at first sight, but I'm not seeing anything for white. It's because of this knight on c3. The job of London being so bad, so to speak. And now knight d6 is coming. I like this shuffling with black. I like this regrouping by black. It will gain some stability if you allow this move. Logan is really tested here in terms of resilience in terms of defense. As we know, as Rudy said, Rudy Tomjanovic, NBA coach, defense wins championships. This one is very tricky because white now invites those ideas. This is very tricky. Let's see what Logan does here. He needs to first of all slow down because the opponent direct threat is knight e6. Not to mention knight g6. Scary. Still very scary for us. I have no clue what the engine is saying, but as a human, I'm having some issues in this position. Maybe the only move to guard against those ideas. I like that. And I like how fast he played as well. I'm feeling that he's feeling the momentum as black. I feel like he's feeling the flow as black. It's the only silver lining so far in this position. Again, just like in last game, the rook on h8 is buried. We have to find a way to get this rook involved in the game. And that's a basic concern. I'm asking myself, how can I ever involve this rook into the game? Like, what's that configuration of pieces that allows my rook to come to the game? Maybe rook h6. That's exactly my point. Like, maybe it needs some creativity to get the rook involved. Because now, maybe, yeah, even the g6, king g7 plans are there, but now you can't even do that because of knight on f6. But if you allow knight e6, I'm happier as black. That knight can later also jump to the square on c4, for example. I'm searching for tactics for white. I don't see one. He's only 2 minutes left, by the way. That's the only good thing for black in this position, that white is 2 minutes left. He's probably searching for a blow, decisive blow, but if there's no blow, then you're losing time. One of the hardest things in chess. You have to understand whether the position is critical or simple. The time management is also huge for this tournament, as you can guess, guys. Right? Huge. You can lose many positions in time trouble, as we've seen in 2 different bands so far. Like, below 1000 was like, they're playing beautiful games, and then 1 minute left, pieces are flying around, basically. Wow, he's only 1 minute and 25 seconds left. And he played h4 ultimately. Wow. Let's see. Oh, why not knight b6? Why knight b6? Maybe he wants to go knight d7. Maybe. But isn't it a little bit too passive? g4 played very fast. I mean, this is... Knight got loose, by the way. If you apply clamp, g4 made this knight into a loose piece. And the queen is the only guard. Queens are the worst defenders in chess. So I try to find a tactic for black. And also it's good because our rook is now more happy on the h-file. I feel like the trend is slightly shifting right now, but it's not easy to attack the queen on f5. That's the problem for Logan. Okay, he won the pawn. g5, it doesn't work because of rook f4. Nice vision. He's also attacking the pawn on g4 just in case. That's a good tactical vision, by the way, to see that knight will be hanging if white goes g5. The opponent has 1 minute left. My boy has 6 minutes. Talk about time management. As I said, Logan is a very confident player. He makes moves confidently without ending up in time trouble so much. And he also improved his positional sense lately. So he can also make those moves, quiet moves, relatively fast games. But that's one of his strengths. He's the underdog, by the way. He was the 8th pick for this round. I actually didn't pick him. He was the only person that was just left by the end of this pool. But I'm feeling very lucky to have him, honestly. He was a great wild horse, so to speak. This move looks a little bit strange because the rook was active on this file. And now just lining up against this. I guess white's point is very simple. They want to go g5. And they're guarding the knight like that. Logan has 6 minutes versus 17 seconds. That's insane time difference, guys, by the way. So white's time expenditure should be definitely criticized for this game. Yeah, that's an extra pawn. Also attacks knight just in case. White is 8 seconds left. Take it, please, Logan. Take with the queen, please. Yes! Yes, my boy. Yes, my boy. He won a piece. The opponent cracked under pressure, guys. He couldn't find a good continuation because of good defensive resilience by Logan. And you see how he blundered in the end? Because he didn't have any tactics. His position was good, but there was no progress because of Black's good defense. And ultimately, he just dropped the piece. Good calculation by Logan. Great calculation. Great calculation skills. Now he needs to slow down. He needs to slow down because he has 5 full minutes. He should not rush his moves just because the opponent is low on time. Many people do the same mistake. Right? When your opponent is low of time, they tend to play faster. No. Take your time. Find those very accurate moves. Like normal moves. Not taking the risk. Your extra piece. Play those simple lines, please, Logan. You have all the time in the world. Like don't rush here, for example. You have choices. That's what I would tell him. Go to the toilet until this game ends. I like he takes his time here. I like that he takes his time here, by the way. Yeah, Black was feeling momentum, of course, right? This was a tense battle. Moves were flying. He was putting time pressure. But now he needs to be much more careful here with Black. Because knight e3 is, of course, an idea. d2, maybe you can take on c2 at that moment, right? But then you might invite moves like 1. There's also this thought of knight d6 to e4. There are a couple of ways to play this position with Black. I like how our rook is on the 2nd rank, by the way. Quite active still. Wow, knight a3. This I don't like, actually. Why? Wow, he's playing very fast as well in this position, which is slightly concerning. Okay, the point is this, but I thought the knight will be much better in the center of the board. The good thing is that the king is cut. There are even like checkmate ideas like that. You know, those knights and the rook. I like that. I like this way of approaching this position, and he lost on time. White lost on time. Logan, you're a great player. Now we can go back and analyze this game. This was very rough. I have to tell this to you guys. This is our prep against Jobava London, right? We knew that he was playing Jobava, so we prepared the Slav structure with c6. Very logical moves. You want to get the bishop out. The problem is f3, g4 set up by white. They want to use our bishop to gain space on the king side. And I gave this h5 line to Logan. It's very nice because you're stopping g4 altogether and white doesn't claim extra space on the king side. This is very solid for black. The bishop is already out and we have a very good structure. If white castles long, then we have b5, b4 ideas. I'm pretty sure I gave b5 to him, but I guess he got confused. b5 is already much stronger for black because of the same idea doesn't work for white. Because here b4, right? Critical. The knight is chased away, queen a5s are coming, and there is less control for white in the center of the board. There is less pressure on our center as well, right? The line goes something like this if I remember correctly. Something like that. Or maybe knight e7 here. Okay, so one little inaccuracy of knight e7 and e4. Black needs to find knight b6 right now, which he didn't. Because this is the main way, so you can recapture with the knight in this position, I assume. Yeah, because if you take with the pawn, then there are these ideas again. So you want to take back with the pawn, with the knight, most likely this knight on d5, maybe even this. And black is slightly better, as you see in this line. But Logan sort of mixed up his lines. He plays b5, and now here we have issues for black. If you take with the c pawn, you drop the pawn on b5. If you take with the knight, same problem, right? This falls, the pawn falls. So, but good calculation that he found knight g8. Otherwise, the game could be lost. I was worried here, actually. I was very worried. Knight g8, and from this position to make all these moves to survive, that takes real skill. But yes, rook e7 was winning. This was in my radar as well because of rook e1 follow-up, and black has no way to guard the knight on e7. It felt like this was a good position for white. Good positions generally have good tactical follow-ups, and white missed this moment. He played very fast. Can you see? Like only in 6 seconds he played bishop e7. White should have slowed down. Critical moment for white. Okay, once the opponent blundered, he never gave him a second chance. Queen c7, all these moves played quickly by Logan. He put pressure on time. Can you see the time management, guys? That's very tricky. That's actually very good for black because you're worse in the position, so you should at least try to be better on the clock. That's what he was applying in this game, which I like, without blundering, of course. He was blunder checking his moves. He doesn't lose. He was using 3-ply calculations of not to lose instantly. And we come to this position. And g4 looks good, but of course our rook gets active. And very importantly, there's no g5. Good calculation again from Logan. And yeah, rook g4 was a mistake. Wow. Wow. I totally missed that. I totally missed that, guys. You see, even coaches can miss those lines. White also missed this resource of the alignment problem. The alignment problem. Nice 5-ply calculation, by the way, by White. This was working. But of course, look at his time. He only has 17 seconds left. In 17 seconds, he couldn't find this winning line for White. And he dropped the knight with a check. The game ended very quickly there. Lucky escape. Championships involve those lucky escapes, by the way. When you look at football, basketball, sometimes teams have turning point games that they're about to lose, but then they swindle. Just like yesterday, by the way, Kiriyama was completely lost against my student on the first round, and he swindled. He won the rook because of my student's blunder, and he went on to win the entire event. So sometimes you need luck as well to become champions, and I hope this game was one of that. One of those lucky escape critical moments that might decide the champion. Ozek was the student of Arthur's Nixons. The third round is starting in 8 minutes. I will catch you very soon, guys. Okay, I'm not checking the chat, by the way. Yep. Cool. We'll be back soon. Defense wins championships. The games are rolling. Let's see. Okay, the games are starting in 4 minutes. So we still have time. I'm checking what you're seeing right now. Yeah, the winners are winning some merches on chess.com or like some credit for chessable courses, but prizes are mostly going to coaches, chess coaches. You can read more on the website. So 2 out of 2 from my student. We'll see how the other games went, by the way. Okay, Vitom won against Gothenburg Chess. Good news for Ramirez. JJ won against Fovitte. That's also good news for title contention because Dina student lost. At least for me. Yeah, look at this. Maski Chess won again. Gotham is very happy, guys. Gotham is very happy. I hope Logan will stop Maski. I hope Logan will stop Maski. Yeah, we won here. We won with 76% accuracy. Yeah, right now Ramirez and Gotham are 2 out of 2. And they were leaders to begin with. And I'm also 2 out of 2, so that's good. Wow, he blundered mate in 1. She blundered the mate in 1. Sorry, Asmoda. Ah, that really hurts. Oh my god, and she was winning here. It's incredible. She was winning if Queen F1. Must be nerves, you see? Like it's unsound sacrifice. That shouldn't work for black. And then she blunders with Rook F1. This is incredible. That's an incredible slip. Gotham might have won the luckiest game for the entire event. Like in terms of Gotham's point of view, he won in a game that he should have lost here with any other move but Rook F1. As long as they saw Queen G2, they should have done something. Incredible. Incredible. Oh. Yeah, so right now Ramirez is definitely happy. Gotham is happy. And I'm also happy, obviously. I think Dina student lost both games, maybe. Needs to be checked. Okay, that's how Vitom played. Black pieces. All normal so far. F4 is slightly dubious because it just gives those light core weaknesses. Okay. Yeah, there are some tactics most likely. Just takes, followed by bishop d5. Wow, that looks very odd. That looks very odd to take that knight. Because he thought there's a tactic, but rook f6 defends, unfortunately. He thought that this is just quite bad for black alignment, but they defend it. And suddenly we just lost our bishop. We lost our good bishop, and now black is coming on the king. Yep. Yeah, so if the exchange wasn't winning, then it's actually a very bad exchange for white strategically. I think that's how they lost the game. And then comes the sacrifice. Nice. Nice finish for Ramirez student. David Cruz lost. Okay, now the third round started. Logan versus Gothenburg Chess. Obviously, we're following my student, guys. I'm very biased here. E4, E6. No engine check, obviously. We'll look at our moves. Wow, he played E6. That's a surprise. That's a surprise. That's a surprise. Yeah, this was not expected. I think they targeted Logan in terms of he doesn't like the French, most likely. We'll see. We'll see. I'm hopeful about my student, of course. But we were definitely expecting E5 from Gothenburg Chess. But I guess that's David Prus. Of course, it's David Prus prep. David Prus is making great opening prep to his students. I think that's what the winner yesterday told them. So this must be David Pru's touch for black. Are we giving up a pawn in this position? There's b4, but there's also bishop takes f5, obviously. Bishop takes f5. The point is to be able to recapture on d4, right? Because if you take directly, then this is just hanging on d4, and we have like very little compensation for white. So the point is to be able to recapture the pawn, you need to give up the bishop, but then, right, we lost our good bishop, so to speak. So that's the justification for black to come to this position. And still moves are played. Look at his time management, guys. Look at the guy's time management. He's blitzing out his moves. It's move 11. This must be prep. Targeted prep by David Prus. There is no other way around that. There is simply no way around that. He just doesn't think. So Logan has to find a way to get him outside of his comfort zone, to get him out of his theoretical prep. So we start playing chess. And once we start playing chess, I'm trusting my boy for this tournament. He survived. He survived the opening stage. E5 pawn is obviously a good move, good pawn. Having said that, black traded off that knight, and their king is relatively safer. The bishop is still a poor bishop, but actually defends the pawn on d5. It's hard for white to put pressure on the pawn on d5. And this d4 pawn is a long-term target for the black pieces. A typical French motif. And black has some ideas later on the queen side. So it needs care, strategic care, to handle this position with white. So maybe that's what they thought. Maybe they want to get this game into, let's say, more quiet waters. So Logan doesn't show his dynamic strength, so to speak. Let's see what it does here. They go a6. What's the point of a6? Looks a little bit odd to my mind at first. I guess they're covering this b5 square, although there was not a threat directly. Obviously, we want to move the bishop out in this position, but then the b2 pawn might be hanging. Sometimes can be sacrificed, by the way, with rook b1 followed by this. So that's a thought. But what should be white's plan? Because this pawn is definitely tying down our pieces. And this queen is putting pressure. So maybe b4 comes to mind as a candidate, right? b4 comes to mind. The idea is just to simply, just get rid of this backward pawn on b2, so the bishop can go out. Oh, he goes rook b1 first. Okay, that's also actually sound, because he's supporting the b4, b5 push on the queen side, potentially. And there are no tactics like that, I assume, because the rook is already guarded by the knight. And also this rook can be attacked later on, but there is no bishop f5 business yet. That's a good thing. Knight g5 comes to mind, but this unprotects the pawn on d4. I like that black starts thinking here, because he was playing so fast. Now we are seeing a slowing down. Strategically very interesting, by the way, guys, this position, because, well, right, bishop pair, and then you see those double pawns. Bishop pair versus, let's say, knight pair. You see double pawns, you see the weakness on d5. You also see the backward pawn on d4. Very rich and complex middle game is waiting us here. Queen a7, interesting move. Queen a7, he wants to go b5, I assume. He wants to go b5, b4 most likely. But this allows bishop e3. I like that in a way that it releases our knight from his defensive duty, because that knight was babysitting the pawn on d4. Not anymore, is the claim. Not anymore. We can park our knight sometimes on g5, sometimes move it away, maybe to d3, right? That's the thought. It would be a nice piece on d3, I would say. Controlling here, looking here, right? Maybe supporting f4 later on by white as well. So it makes sense to move the knight here. It's interesting that black doesn't... Why am I not seeing live moves, by the way? Okay, bishop e7, b4 is on the board. Black will definitely castle short, so they sort of delayed it for a long time. I guess b4 is a couple of points. Sometimes b5 is a thought, although that's more double-edged, because black pieces will get very active as a result. The main point of b4, to my mind, is knight a4 to c5 business. Let's see whether Logan has the same intention, because if knight c5 is on the board, right? If you take, then b takes c5, the rook is very active. Castle short, let's see what Logan does. I expect him to play fast here, because that knight is also a liability on the c file. I guess he will move it now. That's my hunch. Rook e1. Slightly dubious move to my mind because, okay, you slightly improved the rook, but what's the basic point? Maybe I'm missing something, but maybe he has some intentions like that later on. Because that's a close file. I don't instantly see the point. Yeah, now they stop knight a4. That's the problem. But this also leaves a gaping hole on c5. Gaping hole on c5. Now the only positive plan for black is a5. Let's see whether they can find it on the queen side. While they play very fast here, f6. Very committal move, f6. Very fast. Black is playing way too quickly to my mind, guys, because that's a very critical move, f6. Now f4 is on the board. I like that. Attack the bishop. Also allowing e6 follow-up, for example. I like how Logan played here because even bishop f7, e6, the pawn on d5 is dropping in that line. Again, no engine check. I have no idea what the engine is saying so far, but I'm sort of liking the trend that is changing after the last 3 moves or so. Bishop f7 played. e6 and take on d5. Looks a 3-ply calculation. Bishop g6 played. Please take on d5, Logan. But wait, we should always keep those f4 resources, right? Because f4 would attack the bishop, but also the rook on p1. But I guess still playable because this will be hanging with a check. But Logan wants to keep control. Because that knight is a very good piece on f4. We can always play it on the next turn. Why now? I like this move. This is a very classy move. Yeah, quiet move. No complications, no tactics to black. Improving. I'm loving his play so far today, guys. I hope it will continue like this. I hope he doesn't get tired. He's also energetic guy, young man, you know, shouldn't get tired that quickly. So that's my also hope that in later rounds, his energy levels will remain here, actually. Rook c1, look at the time management. I like White's time management. 19 moves made in around 4 minutes. That's very good. Very good. I would say Black played a bit too fast in this game, but also it's because of their prep. The opening prep, obviously. The knight is hit, and knight takes d5 ideas are in the air. Let's see how Black handles this. You say he's cooking. You say he's cooking. It seems like he's cooking, yes. Let's see that the cooking won't get interrupted and we'll have a good meal in the end. Tasty, delicious meal I want to eat by the end of this day, guys. And so far he's a great chef, Logan. He cooks so well in the first 2 rounds. Let's hope he continues. Knight d8. Okay. Attacks the pawn on e6. But also disconnecting their rooks. Looks a bit ugly, I have to say. Knight takes d5 will also introduce those ideas, by the way. But I guess this must be checked. Knight takes d5, knight takes e6, covers rook c7. This must be the point of black. So Logan needs to calculate here. Maybe slow down, actually, is a good sign. Because that knight still guards the pawn on e6. That's a good knight. There is no threat yet. So White can focus on their plan. They can improve. This knight is a bad piece on f3. And there is no defensive duty anymore. So I would love to move the knight at some point. Maybe to h4, yeah, to attack the bishop once again. Maybe even putting pressure here on f5. This will be a nice improving move for White, I assume. Wow, he played knight h4. I mean, the guy is playing very well. Shall we check the engine line, by the way? Shall we check the engine evaluation? Okay, almost +4. Love it. Love it. We were correct, guys, with our judgment. Again, I don't use engine because I want to describe to you my thought process without any bias by the engine. But I assume, even I was not expecting maybe like +4, but obviously White was so much better. But the engine says it's completely cooked. Completely cooked. Bishop e8 is the game continuation. Let's see. Knight f5. We won one more pawn. Love it. Love it. Let's go, Logan. Let's go, man. Only in this game so far, we are down on time. But the position is so crushing. And I'm trusting his ability to convert from this. E6, the knight is attacked. Good that he takes his time. Good that he takes his time. I like that. He can always exchange the bishop and simplify. That's always a good move. Maybe takes and rook c5 comes to mind, because once the rook is on c5, that will be an excellent piece. Also attacking here. Queen g4 was played. He's a much more dynamical player. he's looking at the king side, obviously, right? He's strong, guys. He's strong. Obviously, knight g6 doesn't work yet, this sacrifice, but things are cooking. Things are cooking on the king side for sure. So I think black needs to play very fast here. Black's only chance lies in speed, in his time advantage. And that's what he did. That's what he plays king h8 very fast. Good idea. Good idea to play king h8. At least now this is a real threat. He played the move. He played knight e7, queen e7. I like he's simplifying it. He's simplifying. After all, he has like 2 extra pawns, right? He has 2 extra pawns. And once you have that, there goes one more pawn. The third pawn is gone. Queen e6 is expected. Exchange the queens, just like in the first game. I like this approach. I like how simple he's playing. He's playing very simply with 2 extra pawns, with a crushing positional advantages as well, right? The rook is opened. Even this rook is an open file. Extra knight, beautiful knight on d5. Wow, is he finding some tactic? Guys, this guy is too sharp. This guy is tactically too sharp as well. Rook e7, I guess. There are some tactics here, guys. This is cooked. I'm seeing all these ideas. Are we going to see it on the board? Guys, are we going to see it on the board? I'm excited. Rook e7, yes. Look at the time management. He still has 2 minutes and 46 seconds. I like this. Rook f7. Okay. Okay. This is sort of hanging one more pawn, to say the least. Let's see what he does here. Pawn is also cooked after you take. And also do moves like this, obviously. He took. He's keeping it simple and stupid. I like that. I like that. Maybe one more pawn can be gobbled. Yes, that pawn is also gobbled. He's a pawn grabber. He needs to be careful about knight f5 attacks the bishop. He solved that. Very important. We are seeing all the moves. By the way, black also fought well. We can look at the engine line. Yeah, it's almost +2, but black also fought really well in this game, I have to say, to counter this position. So kudos to Gothenburg Chess. Nothing is decided yet. The game is sort of starting again. He wants to get this knight on e5. Care is required by white. Care is required. I like knight e5. This is the best piece in the black's camp. Logan wants to exchange it off directly. I love he plays this position, guys. Positional virtuoso, to say that way, yeah? Positional virtuoso. Also, look, black is putting pressure on time on white. He's playing very fast. That's a good move. Because if this, then you will have knight c4. Tricky. Tricky. g3 played. Okay, maybe I would play h3 instead, right? Because those light squares can be attacked by the bishop. This is the only concern to my mind. Let's see. King f6. It doesn't hurt to also play h4 here, just to create one more square for the king. King g2. You have to be careful against the bishop checks. You have to be careful against the bishop checks, but I guess that's still safe. Yeah, black is definitely finding good resources to stay alive. We can even check the engine. Yeah, this was a mistake. This was a mistake, Logan. Logan, allowing king d5 was a mistake. I don't like how fast he's playing. God, this is getting tense. I guess the point is knight a3 allows rook c5 check. Black is a good player. Black is a good endgame player. King d3 must be played. Hope he does that. Please don't blunder, Logan. This will be a shame to lose this game. But really kudos to Black for this endgame resilience. He's from Sweden, Gothenburges. Nice nickname. The knight is so powerful. You know, the knight is so powerful that our extra 2 pawns are sort of meaningless. Also, the king is beautiful on d5. You see that light square blockade? That light square blockade is huge. Is that a mistake? You love g4, guys. Okay. This looks... I have not good feelings about this game, guys. I hope that the trend will turn. Yes, at least a4 he played. Try to get rid of the weakness. Please take that pawn, Logan. So we have no more weakness on a3. Black is playing too fast again. He wants to put pressure on white, but at least now our rook is released from defensive duty. That's what I like. Maybe rook c2 to a2, right? You need the rook to join the battle. That's the top priority right now for white. King e2, what is that? What is that move? Guys, I don't understand. I don't understand why black is playing this fast as well. Now rook c5 is coming. This game is over. I think black was panicking in white's time trouble because that knight was gold. Why do you ever give up that knight for the bishop? What's going on? I would play moves like this potentially to attack this pawn. Maybe some other ways to find the target on h2, right? This was impulsive exchange. Why do we exchange? I was hoping for rook e3 and he will take on d4. That's the only explanation, but it must be hallucination because after pawn takes, this guy is defend, and look at my rook on. This is crazy, guys. Okay, it's good news for me, of course. It's good news for us, but the art of exchanging pieces, right? A single exchange can destroy your position like that. That's why you see like +6 for... Can you see this? It's almost equal. Black exchanges knight for the bishop, it becomes +6. So that's the explanation. It's because of activity difference. That knight was killing our rook as well, guys. Can you see it? That knight was really, really killing the rook on c3. Now that rook is an amazing piece. Coming to c5. Must be some sort of time issue by black. He got tilted because of white's time trouble, I would say. He wants to play very fast, and that's never a good policy. Even David Bruce in our chess.com broadcast said, when the opponent is playing too fast, don't play too fast. Keep your speed. When the opponent is low on time, keep your speed. Don't get affected by that. It's a perfect example. Now that's coming. And we have 2 extra pawns after all. Five check plate. Is the pawn ending winning? Is the pawn ending winning? I think that's winning. That's an extra pawn for white. So Logan should take some time here to understand this position. This move. Rook e5. He didn't go for that. But now he is allowing some tricks like that. Right? He's allowing some counterplay. Wait. What am I talking about? The rook is tied down e5. I'm completely hallucinating myself, guys. Rook e5 is checkmate. The king is so blocked on e4. Our king is beautifully placed on e2. We can always play rook e5 on the next turn. Please play rook e5. Logan, please. Please, sir. Logan. The art of exchanging pieces, sir. Exchange and win with 2 extra pawns in a pawn endgame. Please. You can do it. You see, the simplest way to win this position is to transition into a pawn endgame. Simple as that. I'm looking at the clock times, guys. Rook e5 checkmate, please. Yes. My boy. My boy. L3. This was a hard game. This game was really hard, personally, because of we got out prepped, to say that way. Right? We got out prepped in that sense that we played this. He played the French defense. We were expecting e4, e5, and we reached this position. Logan also played some good moves here. Here, he played some good moves. And then Black, I think, wasted so much time on the queen side. You could have played bishop e7, castle short earlier. Yeah, again, if you look at the engine, white is always slightly better. But here, yeah, b5 was a committal move for sure. I like knight e2 because that knight was not doing much. f6 is so committal and he played so fast. Look at this. He only spends 4 seconds on f6. And then knight f4 is coming with tempo. d5 is loose. e6 is coming. Game losing positional mistake. f6 played so fast. I think if I were Black, that would be my biggest lesson from this game. Committal pawn moves, pawn structure changes, pawn breaks. You should always think more in those positions, right? Now we are seeing a complete destruction by white suddenly. And again, Logan played very well. I mean, here machine gives like +5, and somehow he must made a mistake in his position. Yeah, maybe there's like a more crashing option here. Knight e7 is given as even better. Okay, could be. This is also fine. Also fine. Maybe bishop f4 was better, but again, it's not easy to move to find. Okay, actually Black played really well around the segment to survive to this endgame. Kudos to Black once again to find all these moves. Again, at this level, resiliency is increasing. People have more defensive skills, so it becomes difficult to convert advantages. We see that sweet spot of improving calculation, endgame skills, but also improving defensive skills, which makes this band really interesting in terms of excitement. Things can go back and forth so easily. Rook c2 was a great move here by white, by the way. Because of this, you want to include your rook into the game as simple as possible. But then again, Black panicked. He played so quickly. Again, only 4 seconds on this insanely committal exchange by Black. And he just position got destroyed, right? One committal pawn move in 2 seconds, one committal trade in 4 seconds. The game is gone. The game is gone. Let's see what the others did. The next round is starting in 6 minutes, by the way, guys. Oh, finally, Ozek beat Gotham Chess. I mean, his student was just crushing the field. Finally, Ozek won against him. White won against Asmoada. And Vitom won again. Guys, Ramirez is very happy. He's 3 out of 3 so far. Ramirez. We'll see how this ends up. Catch you soon, guys. This is getting so exciting. I guess the key battles are between my student and Ramirez and Gotham Chess student. So the key games are waiting. This is already very key. Logan versus Muskie Chess. This next round is very critical, guys. Muskie is a student of Gotham. He just lost the last round, but he's 2 out of 3. My guy is 3 out of 3. If we win this, we might have a real edge over Gotham. And we might also have a huge step of winning this, well, maybe even title. Okay? So this next round is hugely critical. I'm reading chat. Games are starting in a minute. This is exciting, guys. Logan Muskie, Olzek versus JJ, Asmoada Vitom. Wishing the best for Asmoada, by the way. We need to stop Vitom. Gotham Rugas versus Orbite. Standings is here. 3 points. Followed by 2 and 2. Gotham Rugas, Asmoada, Fobiete, 0 points. That's bad news for Dina and David Prus. And good news for Ramirez, me, and Gotham. The games have started. We play d4. We play d4. Muskie plays all kind of different stuff, like a6, b6, and so on. Now he goes for the Scandi. This is kind of interesting. Goes for the queen a5 line. Okay. He plays all kind of stuff as black, so it was difficult to have real prep against him. He was playing e4, a6, and so on. But this must be targeted prep after all. Logan plays normal stuff. All normal so far. There's bishop c4, there's bishop e2. There are many lines here, but we'll just stop the engine line for the moment and think for ourselves. Focus. I think the plan is just to get a normal position. without overcomplicating things, and play chess from there. He was even thinking maybe to go to 1g3 lines against this guy, because you see, if he always plays a6, then maybe that's a smart idea to stop b5 in this case. But then he changed his mind and he decided to go for normal stuff. d2, little question to the queen, unpinning our knight. Spent around 21 seconds, which is actually good, because you see, he wasn't expecting this defense at all, so he tries to adjust. He tries to adjust to the new situation right now. We get the typical pawn formation in this candy. e6 and e6 pawns. Castle short, all normal. All normal. This game can be more quiet, more positional. I also like that black doesn't mind this alignment yet, because knight d5 will be answered by queen d8 and so on. Yeah, the guy knows his trap. The guy knows his stuff. Queen c7 stops bishop f4. Also prepares bishop d6. Good move. Rook e1 is also good, very typical. Aligning. I guess bd6 is expected. Knight e5 might be a good follow-up. So rook e1 also supports knight e5 ideas, guys. Right? Like, because if you give me those couple of moves, maybe bishop f4, knight e5, then I'll be generally happy. So rook e1 is multifunctional in that sense. I mean, sometimes you can play a4 to stop b5 and so on. But black needs to, first of all, get their king into safety. The question is, can they play knight? Should they play knight e7 first? Bishop b6 first? Should they castle short? Should they castle long? Black also has some options, obviously, in this position. But I like how he plays it simple, because of, yeah, there's no need to force things against the unconventional opening player like Matki chess. He plays it normally. b7. Logical. Very closely matched also in time. Now we are ready, of course, yeah, because our pieces are developed. So we are ready to maybe form a plan and choose a certain structure, setup. Knight e5 comes to mind. This knight doesn't do much on c3, right? At some point we can improve this piece. Sometimes you can choose this location to go to g3 and so on, to the king side. So small improving moves like that. That's how we will probably treat this position with white. But he's spending way too much time in this position. I believe this is not a good sign in some sense. I like how we found knight e2 after some pondering. Also allows c3 to bolster our pawn. Black is not in a position to play c5 yet, I assume, given their king in the center. Might still be the best move for black, by the way. And again, just, you know, highlighting a couple of ideas. Maybe this, maybe this. Like, looking at your bad piece is always a good idea, right? In the middle game. Like, that knight is bad, does nothing on c3, and I'm improving it. This doesn't require much calculation. Still improves our position. That's why it's a good mini plan for white, I would say. Bishop g6 expected. Bishop g4 is also a thought, but this sort of allows a trade. G6 plates. a4, okay, he's stopping b5, makes sense. Maybe clamping with a5 later on. He plays good positional chess. Time will be a factor, by the way, because so far both players are taking their time and playing normal moves. But at some point it will be scramble, right? There will be some clashes. The good thing is that this band is already better to play with increment. Like with increment, low on time, they can still play good positional moves, right? They can still actually play the position normally. Compare that with yesterday's and the earlier bands when people are just pieces were flying and there were only like a couple of minutes left. H5 is so committal. Wow, what is this H5? Now he plays like Alpha Zero. He wants to get the pawn to H4 and H3. That's the basic point, but you'll not be able to castle short. And H4 is on the board. Yes, I like that. I like this move. I like this move. Raising this pawn as a target and also gaining this G5 point for our pieces. Right now, G5 can be used by our pieces. We can implant a knight, for example, on that point later stage. $6 for Musky Chess, 7 for Logan. Logan is a great guy. He lives in the States and very serious about chess. He's playing chess for like the last 7 years, I assume. He reached 2000 level. I will talk more about our prep and training at a later stage, maybe like in a podcast episode with David Bruce. Bishop d6, logical, but he's wasting time in the opening. He's playing with the same piece over and over again. So obviously he wants to win a pawn, let's say, after takes, 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 but Logan will see that. Wait. Yeah. That's the current board situation, guys. Knight e2 back, maybe that was the only move, because the knight had no forward move to say that way. And we don't want to lose a pawn as well. That's okay. I will say that's okay, because, well, you're still having issues with your king. If you castle long, then there might be some storms happening on the queen side. This king can be also very sharp if black ever chooses to castle long in his position. Guys, this game is quite exciting already to my mind. We'll see how black handles this. Maybe bishop e4 is a good move, just in time. Yeah, maybe to get the bishop on d5 just in time to challenge our pieces. The problem for black is the rooks are split, obviously. And there is no pawn break of e5 yet. And even c5 is committal. But c5 might still be the best, by the way, because you see, besides c5, there is no other way for black to fight for this center. Yeah, as mentioned, bishop e4 is played. Now they really want to do this, so we have to prevent that, of course. We don't want double pawns. Knight g5 is a thought, of course. There are many other moves for white. Maybe knight c3 is a thought. The problem with knight c3 is that you're blocking your c-pawn. So I would probably not play knight c3. We are still ahead on clock, so that's a good thing. Okay, played knight c3. My point was that after bishop d5, let's say, okay, maybe we'll take with the knight this case. Okay, that's the point, because my thought is that bishop d5, maybe bishop d3, but then there's no c4 follow-up and so on. But this should still be in our favor, because again, black needs time to safeguard their king. Their king is exposed in the center. I like h5, h4 transformation, because, well, our king is not really weakened on the king side after h4, right? Like, these are like phantom fears. If you think that, oh, our king is so unsafe after h4, there is no way for black to attack our king with those sleeping rooks, to put it this way. So I like how he's keeping it quiet against the dynamical, unconventional player, Musky Chess. He plays normal moves, quiet chess here. F5 played. Sort of goes back and forth. Yeah, now the problem is the knight again, by the way. That's a good move by black, because the problem remains as the knight being a bad piece. What can always maybe repeat once. and then take it from there. Although knight e2 is like another good move in this position at all. Very sharp, very interesting. Very, very interesting middle game position. I'm looking at moves like d5, obviously, right? Like the king is in the center, maybe it works, so Logan sees that as well. I like that. I like this guy's approach to chess. I like this guy's approach to chess. He's seeing so many good things. Obviously, knight b6 is a real challenge. I assume he saw that. I hope. I hope he saw knight b6 before playing d5. That will make him even a greater player. The basic point is, of course, the alignment. That if you take on d5, I can take with my bishop, for example. Maybe some knight b5 moves are in the air. We cannot take because of the fork, right? But knight b6 sort of attacks the bishop, but also the pawn. So how do you respond against this move? That's the basic question. Maybe you will sacrifice the bishop like that. Maybe. But is this going to be enough? Is this going to be enough? Card check, maybe. Don't see a real follow-up after that. He played c takes d5. We have to come back to that position after the game. Bishop takes d5. Okay, things are sharpening up. Now the king needs to choose the location because otherwise knight d5s are coming. So the basic idea of this d5 operation is it improved our knight as well. That's why he plays a6 to stop knight b5. Bishop b3 back, good move. Solid, quiet, defending c2 just in case. We are not in a hurry as white. Black needs to solve their king problem. That's the basic argument in this case. Knight g4 looks active, but what exactly is the threat? What exactly is black's threat? Are they going for the f2 pawn? That seems to be the only point of that move. They are going for activity, so with the king in the center like that, that always can backfire. For example, they might now move like knight d5. Knight d5 is a real choice for white. Queen c5 attacks here. Right? The game will be very sharp. So Logan needs to take his time. g3. I don't like this move. I don't like this move at all. Why do you allow this? Why do you ever allow this, Logan? We are losing now. Logan. He built a good position and destroyed everything with g3. Incredible. Incredible. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. Yeah, I hope he will recover from this. It will be hard. It will be hard. Yeah, again, knight d5, everything is normal. Everything is normal. He played too fast as well. He played too fast. He didn't see this move at all, right? Or what? He didn't see the bishop on g3. Okay, this is a big blow for us, especially from Gotham chess student. But let's see what we can do here. First of all, he needs to recover. If he takes the bishop, the game is over. I can show it quickly. Is there any way for a human to defend? Let's not look at the engine, use our brains. How would you ever try to fight in this position as white? Because, well, the king is still here. Maybe there are some counter chances involving knight e5. That's also hanging. That's a bummer. This also creates a big threat of bishop f2. Ay, ay, ay. Queen e2 now. He's sacking the exchange. Okay. Sacking the exchange. Now he will show his character. If he loses this game, most likely he will lose this. We will see his character on whether he can recover from this loss. Okay, we will see. H1 played. I'm being quiet here, guys, because I'm also thinking as a human to see how easy it is for black to convert this position, regardless of what the engine is telling us, right? It's humans who are playing this position. So engine can say like -4, but it's quite sharp. Their king is in the center. There are some ideas for white as well, including knight d5 directly. So black needs to be accurate here to convert. Knight e5 played. Logan needs to take his time. He has a time advantage to start with. Is this takeable right now? That's my question. Is this takeable? He took. What if he take on e5 instead? We don't need to take on h2, right? We can also take on e5, which he did. Good one, Logan. Good one. We are coming back to game. We are coming back to this game. Yes, +2 for white already. Yes. We are slowly swindling this game, guys. We are slowly swindling this game, and he was only expecting here, by the way, he was only expecting this, after which all kind of double checks are coming, but we're not playing checkers. We have choices, and this knight was taken instead. Also attacking this knight, by the way. It's a very good thing. So the queens must be traded off. And without the queens, our extra material is a big advantage here. Extra piece. Extra piece for white. You have to be careful, of course. You have to be careful, but extra piece. Defense. Nice. Time is on our side as well. Time is on our side. Guys, this is so critical for the final standings because it's round number 4. We are playing against Gotham chess student. He was leader at the beginning of this tournament, so we'll see. Logan, please take it quiet. Use your time efficiently. You have all the time in the world to convert this. You're a good increment player. You're a player that can play good moves short of time. Just don't mess up. Don't mess up. And please convert this position, my boy. And I will give you a big, big prize. Will we defend that pawn, by the way? It was not possible, right? At least black has 2 pawns for the piece. That's something. But the bishop is unopposed. That's a good bishop. So now the question is, what's the easiest way without giving counterplay to convert this position? Oh no. Oh no, he's losing the exchange. I don't like this at all. I don't like this at all. I think he put pressure on himself. He put pressure on himself, guys. He needs to recover. He needs to readjust. He simply needs to readjust right now. Logan, just readjust. You have still all the time in the world. Don't hurry, please. Don't hurry. I will have a heart attack, guys. Please call the ambulance. Please call the ambulance. The bishop needs to improve. That's the problem with Logan. He needs to improve the bishop. And those pawns are menacing. If those pawns are rolling, I'm having issues with this game. He wants to gain time, but it's not a good trend for white. It's not a good trend for white at all. He needs to come up with a clear plan. And as a human, I see those pawns rolling. Even in time trouble, he just wants to repeat moves. I hope he wins on time. That's my only hope right now. God, this is hard to watch. This is so hard to watch. He needs to improve the bishop. Yes, go back to the basics. Your bishop is the worst placed piece. Please improve it. I would not allow this, by the way. Wondering. Cannot believe it. I cannot believe he allowed this. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say, guys. I don't know what to say. It's so sad. It's so sad to see. This is so hard to watch. He got mated. I hope he can readjust. I hope he can readjust after that. That's fine, Logan. That's fine. You did a good job. I accept it. I accept it. Allowing bishop takes g3 was already quite bad. And you swindled him. He made some bad moves. Knight e5 was a big blunder. And you saw it. But this endgame was winnable by you. But then maybe you played a little bit too fast here. Maybe you played a little bit too fast, my friend. Right? Allowing bishop e4 was also a big, big slip. Big, big slip. The alignment in our clamp checklist. And the guy's a good tactician. He saw it instantly. Here, of course, white is still better, but it's difficult to play in time trouble. He was hesitant. And I would not allow this. I would play king h3 here most likely, or something else. It's incredible that just wins directly with rook h4, by the way, because of loose piece awareness. Loose pieces drop off, as John Nunn says. If they were protected here, you'll be winning, but they're not protected. This is so cruel, right? This is so cruel. So sad. This is so sad. Good one, Logan. Good one. Readjust. Wash your face. And you will show true character. In 5 minutes, we are seeing each other. So bad. So sad. So painful to watch, but we have to readjust. There are still 3 rounds to go. Everything to fight for. JJ against Logan. This will be important for adjusting. Yeah, Ramirez is probably becoming a champion. The 3-way tie. Olzek is coached by Nick Sands. Maski versus Gothenburg chess. God, that was hard to swallow. That was hard to swallow. This is hard. Converting an advantage is hard, as you saw, guys, in time trouble. Well, loose piece awareness and alignments, right? Clamp. We lost because of loose pieces are aligned on f4 and e4 at that moment. And somehow we didn't take the opponent's move too seriously. Rook h8, followed by h3, followed by rook h4. It's hard to see, actually. It's kind of a miraculous idea by black. Rook h8, h4, h3 check, and rook h4 skewers the loose pieces. That's why we lost. But even before that, allowing bishop g4, losing an exchange in that position, right? I think he got so excited that the game was swindling and he was an extra piece simply in that game that he just started to play too fast and got slightly tilted at that moment, right? Like instead of slowing down and readjusting to this new endgame with an extra piece, right? This mindset of how do I now convert this position with an extra piece, the whole mindset shift, he sort of carried over this earlier blow because he was devastated earlier. He was losing, right? Like he started to play very quickly still, losing a couple of things, missing a couple of things, and then that led to a very quick turning of events for Logan. Hard to watch. Yeah, the next round should be starting soon. This shows the true character, by the way. How you react after you lose in chess shows the true character. Person, player. I'm trusting Logan will have a good comeback in this game. I hope he won't get tilted after last game. He should look at it like this. He was supposed to lose that game anyhow because he blundered earlier. So it's not a big deal, you know? It's not like, you know, you're winning the entire game and you just blundered something and lost. So we should look at the bright side of the earlier loss, so to speak. Yeah, this is a tricky line for black to face. We will see how Logan will play this because e6. There are many ways for black to defend here as well. Like you can choose a normal setup as well, like that. But he believed in this earlier d5 plan. The thought is that if you take, then my bishop comes here. I accept the IQP, of course, but my dynamical compensation is good enough. Without the engine, let's see how this game operates. Logan took some time on his clock. Maybe he was not anticipating this variation. The other 4 is not bad at all. So we should look at the bright side of things. There's still 3 rounds to go. The key game might still be against Ramirez. Tom. JJ is coached by Ben Feingold. So black really asks white to give us the isolated pawn. That's the point of knight e6. We put pressure here. Castle short is expected, of course. Yeah, bishop b7, castle short. Normal development. Both sides want each other to take, right? We want them to take so our bishop can improve, and white wants us to take on d4 so they can get, let's say, good squares for their pieces, and this pawn can become a target later on. As I said, dynamic positions favor Logan. He's a good feeling for the activity, but also it's harder to attack the white king in this position, so it won't be so much like an attacking game, but he must be playing flexible moves in his. Bishop b3 is very standard. White involves those ideas. Sometimes black can even push b5, c4 here, and let's say try to expand on the queen side with a6, b5, and b4 and so on. But of course, double-edged, because you're setting the pawn structure and you're giving yourself this long-term liability on d5. So the game must be handled with care by black. Flexible moves. H3, okay. Are we missing something? Maybe white is calculated that after takes, d5 is takeable. Maybe even this. Maybe even this. But after takes, how do you recapture? Right, because there's also this rook on f1 that is hanging after the bishop moves. Maybe they need to take on h3 first. Be sharp. Interesting that white didn't spend so much time on this line to enter this entire line of d takes c5 and take on h3. Did he see everything? Did he calculate everything? Kudos if he did that. Please don't do this, Logan, because then you allow this check and the queen drops. This is a great blunder, by the way. That would be a terrible blunder. Yep, knight takes d5. Now that could be an issue if bishop takes. But wait, because if you take on f1, then you allow this discover check, and our queen is lost. So the game is still very sharp. This game still involves so much tactics. Queen takes. Wow. So he enters the endgame down an exchange. That's even more interesting. Please take the exchange, Logan. So white must have miscalculated. Although having said that, I mean, after c4, the bishop will be a very strong piece. So maybe that's white's claim. That, the unopposed bishop is a strong piece here. But in general, of course, I prefer to play with the black position. White is a pawn for the exchange. The good thing is that after c4, this bishop can be chased away with moves like knight b4 and so on. So the bishop cannot stay there forever. Rook d8, please. Or bishop f6. Yeah. That rook can go to d8. Maybe that's smarter because this rook can go to d8 later on to attack here. Always, interesting to... It's always hard to decide, like, which square should we place a rook into, right? Is it this one or this one? Usually, you just ask yourself, okay, if I get this guy to the file, how about this other guy? Can I give a function to that piece? If that's the case, then yes, you generally move this guy here, so this guy can do this. Again, I haven't checked the engine, but my hunch is that black is slightly better. And it will take a good technician to convert this. Okay, I was wrong. White is slightly better, says the engine, but it's only about c4, of course. It's only about c4. He didn't find c4. Yeah, maybe c4 is just good enough consolation, because if knight b4, there are bishop b7 tactics, you see? So maybe like move by move, white can consolidate the bishop on d5 at that moment. The only problem is, of course, is the pawn on b7, which makes our knight hard to move in this position. Wow, is he seeing some tactics? What? Okay, takes, rook b8, c6. What's going on? Why do you allow this, Logan? Is it tilting again? Is it tilting again? No way. Why do you allow this, Logan? Now there are even those ideas. I don't like what this game is going into. I don't like what I'm seeing at all. Even those ideas are now there. Incredibly fastly played as well. He's tilted, guys. He's tilted from the last game. He's tilted from the last game. Incredible. Incredible how fast he played knight e5. He must have thought that after rook b8, the bishop must move. And this guy is dropping. But that's just lousy calculation. Lousy calculation. Yeah. White must be winning right now. +3. Incredible. So you see, that's one thing that I keep noticing in this tournament. Tilt and momentum is everything. All 4 students of mine, they had series of wins or losses. One loss affected them and they start losing multiple times in a row. That's one of the biggest conclusions for me personally in this tournament. That what kind of a factor this tilt plays. You cannot explain this whole thing, by ignoring what just happened on the last game. He lost a winning position against the tournament leader, let's say, yeah? And that affects everything. I mean, we're all humans, yeah? It's so hard. It's so hard. I've lost the piece. Of course, he will win the pawn on b2, but white has 2 minors for the rook. Incredible. Yeah, pure 2 minors for the rook. Same amount of pawns. They should be able to convert this. Like the moment they gain stability, they will convert. I hope it will be the same thing as happened on the last round, right? We were also having 2 minors for the rook last game. And then we left our pieces loose. And a single rook skewered them. And they won a piece again. So only that kind of a tactic can swindle this game for our advantage, guys, unfortunately. But here all the pieces are already protected. It's much more solid position for white. Maybe that's a tricky try, by the way. Your line. Your line with the rook like that. I will play this move without much thought, actually. Yeah, because if you take there are some discoveries with the rook. Some discoveries to attack here, yeah. That's practical, because now white needs to calculate whether that holds for them. I mean, that's a good move for them. Again, no engine check. Engines are sort of useless here. I mean, we are humans as we are looking at this position. So I'm asking myself how white would convert this position. What's the easiest way? Is it even easy to convert, let's say? Of course, we will be so happy to swindle with the draw in this position. Every point matters. And the only silver lining is that this rook has no great activity point in this position. And on a good day, this pawn can fall. And on a good day, our pawn can promote. I'm just talking about fantasies, of course. Will never happen, probably. Yeah. That's probably a good move, because they want to get this piece on d4. That's probably a very good move. Maybe a5. Just to protect the pawn like that. But even on time, we don't have much advantage. But if you ask small questions to white, they need to find a good constellation, yeah? I mean, here you just, because there's a threat. There's a threat right now, so you just need to address it, yeah? I mean, maybe, why do you think so much for a5? Does he even not see it? I don't understand why he's taking so much time here. He's dropping the pawn? I don't get this. Ah, because he wants to do this, maybe. Okay, that's more interesting. He's sort of inviting white to take, and then his point was this. But they can guard a knight like that as well, right? I mean, why do you ever give this pawn to white? Wait, maybe I'm hallucinating here, because white has no time for that, because we can even take on a2 after this. Okay, good that we are taking our time. Good that we are taking our time here. But what are the candidates besides this? Finally. By the way, maybe just white wins by... No, that doesn't work, yeah? They need to guard knight. Please take it, Logan. At least that pawn disappeared. Yeah, the problem is, obviously, after moves like bishop d4, white is just stable enough to... Yeah, to be able to, let's say, grind. And that pawn is still a pass pawn, by the way. So that's a bummer. That pawn is powerful. Yeah, this will be so hard. This will be so hard for black. White must be winning, objectively. +2. Keeping the bishop is okay, but the bishop is so powerful on d4 right now. I mean, this always give and take. That bishop is also solidly defended. It's a crystal structure. They defend each other. And it will be so hard to shake this construction for black. Having said that, in time scramble, he wants to keep more pieces on the board. Please see the threat. Also, the king is cut off. I mean, that's the final problem with this bishop e7 move. Now the king cannot join the battle. I don't like bishop e7 at all. And Logan needs to speed up. That's the final problem. I mean, maybe we can create a pass pawn here, right? Because we're like 3 versus 2. Maybe some rook e2 ideas. That's the only counterplay I'm seeing. Maybe h5, g5, and h4. That's the only something that we can try to create on the king. We need to use the 3 versus 2 on the king somehow. e4. Will be hard. We can even play c5. Yeah, involving the king. That pawn is reaching c6 soon. Come with check as well. That's not good. Not good at all. Maybe king c7, bishop e5, bishop d6 constellation. But then there are all these ideas. Okay. Readjust, please. Readjust. Focus. Focus. Bishop g4 check is always going to be answered by 5 at least. Maybe dark square blockade like that. We need some stability. Also, time is becoming an issue. But now even the knight can't join the attack, although I think he's looking at these ideas. Maybe that's actually smart to keep at least, like a small question highlighting those ideas. You need to just ask small questions to white in this. Yeah, this will be so hard for black. You have to give him that. He just needs to wait for a swindle, wait for a big blunder. Now that's coming. Bad. Really terrible. It's gone. It's gone. That's unfortunate. He didn't see bishop g4. He didn't see bishop g4. Checkmate. Nice game. Bye-bye. Ah, this was so hard. Anyways, just enjoy the show. The rest of the show should be enjoyed. Yeah, tilt is a big, big thing. That's one of my biggest conclusions from this tournament. He started amazingly, 3 out of 3. He was also winning against Musky Chess. He was almost about to become 4 out of 4. And I think some sort of stress kicked in at that moment. Like, he was very close to tournament victory. Yeah. And this game. Yeah. You just go back to the, I mean, look at a couple of blunders. This is fine. This is not such a big deal, but he just couldn't get a position that he wanted, although he got the exchange. The opponent blundered with this move. Not a blunder, but let's say a small mistake, because here black is the extra exchange, and yeah, the wrong rook came here. This will be better because after bishop takes b7, this guy doesn't get attacked. So in hindsight, this was much better to get this rook to the 8. It will be a different story. Right, it's always those hard questions. Here he played so fast. Yes, just simple rook d7, followed by rook d8. There's only a single open file. Please take it, exchange it, you're good to go. Instead, he played so fast. Like, look at this, knight e5. Blunder, of course. He played the move very fast, like in 25 seconds, which involves a pawn sacrifice. Like, the only explanation is that he didn't even see that the pawn was hanging, or he saw that, and here he assumed that the bishop needs to retreat, and he will get the pawn on b2. All this, it takes time to calculate. You have the extra exchange. You have much to lose, right? In those moments, even more care is required. You should slow down even more and double check everything. Because if you play normal moves, you have the extra material. The game continues. If you make a move like that, then you can also lose. And now black is completely lost because that pawn is huge on c6. It's coming to c7, pawn 4, plus this threat. There are huge, two big double threats, and we have no response against that. And this can be explained to my mind by the tilt from the last game. This is my point. You know, this is not like an independent move from the last game. He's having those emotions. He's feeling the rage. He's feeling regret right now because he was so close to 4-0, and beating Gotham Chess student, of course, will be huge for me. And now he's having doubts again. He's having those feelings. And that's why he just needs to breathe at that moment. You know, just take a step back, readjust, readjust. Because now the game is starting again, right? The game is starting again. Queens are traded off. That's an end game with extra exchange. Whole different mentality is required for black. He lost exactly the same way in the last game as well, by the way. Remember? Remember that? He won the exchange, he had the end game, and he rushed, and he lost material directly. He lost directly. So if he had the same exact pattern, actually, deeper pattern, we are saying in Logan's game. It's hard. It's one of the hardest things, yeah, to implement those lessons in your games. He still played well, by the way, here. He fought well. Yeah, taking on d4 may be good, maybe king g7 is good. Like, the idea is that, okay, if you take, my king improves, yeah? But here, if you keep the bishops on the board, the bishop is excellent. Just an amazing piece. Just checking whether blunders happened after that. There's nothing. The game is lost. No side blundered. Nice one. Kudos to Van Feingold student. Yeah, look at Vitom. Ramirez is becoming the champion. Ramirez is becoming the champion, guys. And we have 4-way tie right now. Look at this. Of course, maybe Logan can change the picture. Maybe Logan can beat Ramirez's guy. That will be hard. That will be so hard. It's an amazing performance, by the way, by Vitom. We tried to find his games, but he didn't play so much on chess.com. Also on Lichess he didn't play, I assume. So maybe he had like dummy account or something that he was playing some other games. Maybe Ramirez prep, right? We see some Ramirez prep here, I think. Yeah, knight at 3. It looks very like, oh, this must be prep. This must be prep by Ramirez. Okay, okay. Well, black is better, but white found a way, I guess, yeah? Here black is better, so much better. How did white even win this? I mean, that's That's kind of incredible. Here starts a swindle. Yeah, not a fact. Even here, Black is playing fine. Okay, I think in time trouble, yeah? He blunders. Okay, he finds e6 check. Rook d4 is also good. I mean, also Black player is a very good player, by the way. Wow. What? What? Black wins a piece? I don't get that. Black can take the free knights. Huh? He didn't take the free knight? Okay, Black doesn't take the free knight, then Ramirez, the student, becomes 5 out of 5 as a result. That's insane. That was my point, that you need luck as well, as a coach as well. You need luck in this event. There are like so many unknowns. There are so many parameters there. And of course, that's how we won the game. All right, go back. Rounds are starting now. Adjust. Yeah, my guy against Vtom. Hard, very difficult, because Vtom is 5 out of 5. My guy is tilted, 3 out of 5. This can be a turning moment in the event for him. But if he loses, I will be surprised as well. I mean, this is totally natural. He plays against a very strong guy, but he already shows character, Logan. He's a strong character, so I'm having hopes about him. I think he did his prep. He did his prep against Vtom. And overall, I think I'm hopeful about his chess. And if things go well, we might have one final push for the top 3 stage at least. Personally, for myself, top 3 is still possible. Even Ramirez is the clear champion. Right? But we need to beat Matkey chess. We need to go beyond Matkey chess, which is not a given. Is not a given. We need to make sure that Fobite doesn't beat us. So still so many unknowns. Still so many things to fight for. Things can change. Can't speak. Oh my god. I got excited. I was almost having a heart attack, guys. You can see it's never easy for coaches to watch things like that. I mean, you get affected. You feel the pressure. You feel the tension. You feel their miseries. You feel their pains. It's so hard. The game starts. The tournament leader, Vtom, look at his rating, by the way. 1928. Was it always like this, or did he improve after Ramirez? This needs to be checked. My boy plays d6. You need to be careful about this tactic, by the way. Takes, 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 takes. Queen takes d8, but then comes bishop c3 check. Can you see? Line continues with queen d2, by the way. That's a line. A bit messy. But that needs to be calculated by white, obviously, right? Because d6 invites that line. d6 basically invites those complications. So we'll see. We will see. You can also enter this endgame like this, but then you drop the pawn on e4, of course. That's not so good. And the king is safe on d8. Many of you might ask, but isn't this king just be attacked? It's a safe piece. Oh, king e7 was the basic point. All right, all right, all right. The thought is that after the queen trade, this is also hanging on e4. I guess we have an extra pawn after all, yeah? I mean, if we can consolidate our position with moves like f3, I'm very happy. An extra pawn. Yeah. I think black sort of blundered, yeah? Let's see. Maybe d6 was a forgetting of a prep. Maybe forgot the prep. The machine likes white, of course. But wait, I mean, after this, I thought this line was actually, I mean, preferable for black. Queen d2 being the critical move, of course. Importantly, of course, the pawn is guarded by the knight. So we have an extra pawn as well. Okay. So good news, Ramirez student messed up. But in the last game, he was losing and the opponent didn't take a free piece. And that's how he swindled. So, this level, you see, it's not a given that people will convert smoothly. For example, there are a couple of ideas like knight b4, knight d4. Now you need to be careful. Maybe c3. I mean, extra pawn for white, but also this pawn is isolated and weak, right? So it's more than a pawn in something. That pawn is a target. f3 will blunt the knight and the bishop as well at some point. So if we can get all these moves in, if we can safeguard our king, we are happy. But of course, f3 will allow bishop c5 business. So it's always double-edged. So knight f3 castle short looks more quiet and normal to my mind because that pawn is already guarded. We don't need to play f3. And that's the basic point of knight d2, by the way. Yeah, that's actually smart from Logan. Because f3 sort of invites those moves. I like that. I like that. Bishop d5, I don't like. Why? Wait, something is going on here. Logan, why do you ever allow this? Why do you ever allow moves like knight d4? Is it just the tilt, guys? I don't understand this at all. I don't understand what's going on with Logan's game. I mean, he had a clear extra pawn without the need to complicate anything in this position, to my mind. What's the worry? What's the worry? Like, for example, if you castle short, what's the problem? What's the problem? Even like bishop b3, what's the problem? Why do you invite those crazy exchanges? Why do you invite those moves? And now you need to castle short, I assume. I hope. Tilt. I mean, there is no other explanation, guys. Like all these moves, like if you watched his first 3 games, this guy was crushing the field. He loses that painful game, and the rest of his moves are like, especially exchange decisions, are very hard to understand like that. Moves that invite trades, and then he misses the tactic like that, just like in the last game, right? Like he played knight e5, bishop b7, rook b8, c6, he missed. Here it's even simpler, just takes, knight b4. I don't understand this. We can even look with the engine. I mean, plus 1.5 for white. Just play anything. Just c3, h3. What is it? I still don't get this at all. I mean, also, like, your king is in the center. You have other issues to solve. The bishop is not attacked. There is no attack on the bishop. Okay. We have to look at the bright side, I guess. Enjoy the show. Let's enjoy the show together, guys. I don't want to jinx anything by saying anybody's better. Things can still go around, of course. But it's incredible how momentum is everything. For almost the entire band. When it comes to my students especially. There is this momentum thing going, like series of losses and series of wins. Human psychology. Maybe that's the thing for everybody, by the way. I mean, that needs to be discussed. Maybe that's exactly what other coaches experience as well. Rook g8, wow. He's playing so fast as well. He's playing very fast. The opponent. Maybe that's intentional as well. Maybe Robert told him to play really fast. And white needs calculation. White needs time to understand what's going on. Like, there are so many ideas like that on this diagonal. Not easy to handle still. Pieces are flying. Like, we lost control, right? Like, bishop d5 lost everything, lost control. We had one extra pawn, better pawn structure, black had a weak pawn on e5. Now it's just a bar fight. Things are flying. And very unconventional. It's also very hard to understand. Like, move by move. What's going on? g4 might be very good, by the way. Because that bishop now needs to leave that diagonal. But look how quickly he's playing. Look how quickly he's playing. It's crazy. Like in all these games, we'll see 2 minors for the rook. It's coming again. Logan will be playing with 2 minors for the rook. And I hope he won't blunder this time. that's all I'm hoping for. I hope he will put his pieces to good squares. By the way, look at his time management. I mean, that's insanity. Black is playing bullet chess. Black literally is playing bullet chess in this case. Please, rook e1, rook e6, Logan. I trust you. Rook e1, rook e6 you can find. Place it on e6 and take it from there. Simple chess. Please don't blunder your pieces. Put them on good and supported squares and take action. Obviously, it's still difficult because there are those ideas, which is a little bit worrying for us, right? Rook f8 will attack here. So we need to find a way to stabilize, which needs time. White is winning most likely with good time on its clock, with good time management. Yeah, +5. But again, given the opponent is playing bullet chess, nothing is given. Nothing is given. I assume he calculates here, by the way. Rook e6, rook f8. Good mind. I love my boy. My boy, I like you so much. Rook e6 is a good move. Making statement with rook on e6, yeah? Placing it on e6, just screwing it up like that. Every single piece is also better. But they will ask some questions, some tricky questions, which need some calculation to figure out. For example, how do you handle this? Yeah. I hope he doesn't make a retreating move like that. That was exactly my point. Since those pawns are weak, we need care to convert this position. And in time trouble, if you slip, those rooks are entering the tray. So these two, let's say next 2-3 moves are absolutely critical for Logan. Don't worry about the engine. Engine will tell you +5. He's a human, right? You notice some problems for white to convert this. So this will be a real test for character and his, let's say, psychological status, whether he had a real comeback or whether those memories from Gotham chess game is coming back. Yeah, maybe that's a good sign because that pawn is not so important. Important thing is to stabilize your position. Stabilize. Put every piece on a protected square and take it from there. You still have the extra material, by the way, as white. Rook g6 comes to mind as well. Yeah. The idea is to tie down the rook on the pawn. By the way, we worked on these positions. I gave him some winning positions like this, and he tried to convert them against me. I've shared with him this whole database of instructive winning positions that need some good calculation and care to handle. Because I knew that this will come to this for Logan, as we see here, yeah? Today, maybe 2-3 games that he clearly showed this technique. And maybe in one game he missed the technique. But at this level, this was becoming more and more relevant. And he needs to also make those moves fast, as in this case. So we actually trained this, a little bit like a hindsight of what we did with our students. I gave him these kind of positions to convert against me or his training partner, Segayeta, as well. You see, 8 minutes to 2. Incredible tip from Robert, most likely. Maybe the guy told him that never spend more than 10 seconds per decision. Because if you look at the time management, 24 moves made in 2 minutes. Incredible, right? Just an incredible way of handling time. And if you lose this game, it's because of time difference. At least the good thing is that the knight is guarded right now. And everybody is defending each other. Again, engine will tell you something like +4. Is a human, none of this is obvious. So this game is far from finished, guys. Don't look at the engine line, please. Don't look at the engine evaluation. Good that he saw h4, by the way. Again, white needs to adjust to the new situation on the board. After the trade, things are flowing, things are changing. I'm very worried about blunders right after the piece exchanges in chess, right? Because that's a whole different structure right now to assess, whole different position to assess. And white needs to adjust to this new situation. In time trouble, nothing is easy. Nothing is easy. Now, if you take, there's rook g4 check, for example, yeah? God, please don't swindle again. Please don't swindle again. I mean, I will have a heart attack, guys, if that happens. If this happens, I'm having a heart attack again. No. Really? He's blundering this? I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. I simply cannot believe it, guys. The game is lost. He lost it. What can I say? Everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong once again. What can I say? There's only tilt. That's the only explanation. Before we are still winning, by the way. It's so hard to digest personally for me to having him go down like that after 3 wins, losing 2 completely winning positions like that. It's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. Incredible. I have no words to say. I have no words to say. Nothing. If you look at the engine, as I told you, yeah, don't be fooled by the engine lines. In time trouble, it's not easy to convert. White needs good calculation to safely convert this. And the moment Black asks some tactical questions by playing extremely fast, he blundered. Again, there are ideas here, rook g5 maybe. But now he's going for the pawn structure transformation, which comes up with all different new possibilities, like h4, rook g5, and so on. And White needs time to adjust. The problem is he has only 2 minutes left. He wants to involve the king, of course, but then allows h4. The thing that hurts is that we worked on this particularly. We worked on converting winning positions. This was expected from my side that he would get these positions because he's a good middle game player. He would get advantageous positions, and we worked on the endgame skills. We worked on ways to improve in a smooth way. Yeah, so that's the thing that hurts me the most because he could do it. He improved. So to my mind, the only explanation is what happened in Musky chess game. If you rewind the tape of life, if you go back to round number 4, if you play it again, I would love to see that scenario where Logan was 4 out of 4 and he beat Musky chess. I would be very curious to see how the remaining games went. Because to my mind, there is no other explanation than that particular tilt that explains this. White played a beautiful game otherwise. Incredible. Okay, all deck is also climbing. Good news for Nick Suns. And Muskie will probably find a way to swindle again, despite being like -4. So hard to watch. This game still continues, yeah? Okay, still everything to fight for. The problem is he's worse on tie breaks when it comes to Matki chess. Right? If Logan and Matki finishes the same, Matki will become fourth. Next one is starting in 5 minutes. For Witte versus Logan. I'll be very happy if he wins and ends on 0.4. Vito Matki chess. Yeah, this will be interesting now, right? Although he guaranteed the tournament, maybe he will not play his best chess. But he's playing against Gotham student as well. I mean, that would be a shame, right? To not to do your best against Gotham students. So I'm expecting Vitom to still fight for victory, fight for glory for 7 out of 7. The point is, even if he loses, he's winning the tournament like single-handedly. So maybe there's less motivation for him right now. What a victory for Robert Ramirez, though, right? What a victory. Like 6 out of 6. Landslide. And Olzek also did fine, by the way, in this tournament. Good performance. I know whether we always play like that, Vitom. Whether we always play like too quickly for the entire tournament. There's so much to ask for the coaches, what they did, what they talk to their students, and whether they attribute them to their success, what they think had worked, and so on. I would love to maybe invite Robert as well to my podcast and discuss. Yeah, I think I should invite Robert because he will become the best coach in the world. That's guaranteed, actually. So now the fight is for the top 3 spaces. Yeah, this is really very important for me because if he wins, then I might surpass Dina Belenkaya. I might even surpass, well, depending on what Gotham and Olzek does. I might even surpass Arthur and Levy. So still everything to play for. Yeah, Asmawada was a rating favorite, but he didn't do so well. JJ did so well, by the way. Kudos to Ben Feingold. Yeah, David Bruce is unhappy today. Gothenburg. Also, Andras Toth is not happy. Yeah, the turning moment for me, turning point of this event maybe even, was round 4 today. Logan was winning against Multi Chess and he lost. And his 3-game winning streak turned into long castling by 3 losses in a row. He actually brought long castling by losing 3 games in a row. Incredible, yeah? It was the same for the first day. My student Harley, Moon ZS, she started with 3 wins, with 3 checkmates, and then she lost 4 in a row. Incredible, just like today. 3 versus 3, 3 versus 4. It's a streak game ultimately. That needs to be investigated. From this little data that we have, sample size is quite low, of course. This thing that pops to my mind directly as one of the biggest observations personally from this event. That this adjustment is difficult also, even for us, right? Also, games are playing in quite rapid speed. I mean, you lost the game and you just need to readjust. It can be a very painful event. You think about yourself. There are cameras all around your room. There are 2 cameras that are watching you. People are watching you on chess.com stream. Your coach is streaming it. I mean, there's so much pressure on the shoulder of these guys as well. So we have to give them some credit as well. It's not easy at all to handle this pressure. And also you feel more pressure because you're fighting for your coach. So I can totally understand from their perspective that when things are starting to go in the wrong direction, they are losing their objectivity, right? They are not taking a step back and readjusting themselves and always staying on the current moment without those extra thoughts, without those regrets. Right? One of the hardest things in chess, to always stay on the current moment with full focus. Games have started, let's see. So, Pobevitte versus Logan. We expected this. Alapin. He's an Alapin player. Okay, he goes for this line. That's more interesting. We thought maybe d5 is... I mean, against knight f3, d6, c3. Sorry, knight f3, knight c6, d3. That was d5. But even this is, of course, a thought for black. So the basic choice is between d5 and knight f6, and he goes for knight f6. Yeah, no engine analysis. We just need to think for our human brains. Knight d5 takes. Of course, it's all theory. It's all theory. And so far, I mean, except maybe a couple of games, Logan handled the opening stage well, like in terms of not spending so much time and playing confidently. d6 is definitely a thought for black. Takes with the queen, of course. Okay, that's also a thought. You can also take like this in the eventual, because white has no way to guard the pawn on d6, of course. So there's also thought for this move e6, which closed down the bishop, but the bishop can later find life, even on this diagonal at a later stage. So it's quite solid. And white is the IQP. You should look at the bigger picture. White is the IQP. That's a long-term liability potentially. But also in the middle game, that's a strength for white. So she needs to maybe handle this middle game in a more dynamic fashion as white. Right? We need to study our openings in terms of common pawn structures. So it's already a big imbalance that is created in the position. Nice game is waiting us, I assume. Bishop d3 is a thought here. Yeah, a victory will be very nice for the final round for me. Even Segaeta yesterday finished with 4 points. That gave me the 3rd place. And yeah, that's even smarter because sometimes white wants to take the knight and give us the IQP ourselves. So that was a smart choice for white. Exchanging minor pieces usually favor the side who is fighting against the IQP. So I like that trait. I like that trait from black's perspective, right?
logically, because as an IQP owner, you need to play dynamically in the middle game. You need to give as many pieces as possible to intensify your middle game advantages. But if all the miners are traded off, then heavy pieces will align against your pawn, and then your pieces will need to babysit the pawn on d4. So that's the basic thought behind. You generally want to keep the minor pieces with the IQP. He's playing really fast. This is slightly concerning to my brain, but okay. Right? For example, he doesn't castle short for some reason yet. And now there are d5 ideas, of course. I wonder why he doesn't castle short. I don't get that. This was a hard event for me, by the way, guys. I mean, it was a rough month for me, like quite also from a personal perspective. There were some events that took place. So intense period also for coaches. So I'm sort of tired by the end of all this, but in a good way, because I loved our discussions. I met 4 new people. We had good connections. More on that later on in my podcast episodes. But if you see a tiring face here, that's because of that. Even my sleep got affected, by the way, because of this tournament. Logan finally castles. Usually, it's a good thing for the IQP owner at some point to get rid of the IQP like that, right? After takes, and replace the IQP with a good piece in the center of the board. So, to my eyes, d5 looks reasonable for white, a reasonable candidate to eliminate a weakness on d4. That's why we usually say first you need to blockade the pass pawn so they can't push and exchange it, restrain, blockade, and take in the end, as Nimzovic preached us. We'll see whether for Bevitte, sorry about butchering that, we'll find that. I'm not even sure that whether that's the best one. We can even ask the engine, let's say. Okay. Engine says black is better, but not a big deal. I guess there was some tactics involved, yeah? Maybe I'm not seeing tactics. Of course, I'm missing this bishop h2 check. Okay, that's why I'm getting tired as well, guys, by the way. You see, if d5, then takes, and then bishop h2 check, followed by queen takes d5. And black wins. I hope both sides saw that, by the way. And now Logan wants to blockade the pawn by making some knight d5 moves. Again, care is required by black. White will throw the kitchen sink before they resign. So they will improve all their pieces first, right? We need to be very careful as black to handle this position. I like that knight d5 move. More piece exchanges are favoring us because we fight against the IQP. That's a very good thing for black, I would say. And now we need to be a little bit careful about some knight g5 jumps, as I said. So you don't want to create a big weakness around your king. Having said that, since those miners are traded off, there is less chance for white to attack the king. So even more exchanges are beneficial for black. I didn't like this early rook d8, by the way, because maybe you would like to get this rook to d8 and then this guy to c8 later on, right? Like, that's a deeper chess knowledge for you. Since Logan already played rook d8, now we sort of waste time in this position, right? Imagine if this rook was already on d8, then, well, you could already challenge the file a move ago. Can you see the link, guys? Like, these are, of course, these guys will become much stronger players later on, and these new patterns will be beneficial for them to see the next level. At this level, those nuances can obviously be missed. h3 by white. So, black's task is to keep everything as simple and stupid as possible, right? Very simple. You have all the long-term advantages, namely, they have the IQP, beautiful knight on d5. All the static advantages belong to black. So, without any counterplay, you need to convert this with small improvements. Maybe a6 is an improvement. Yeah, you just stopping queen b5, just in case. I like that. Maybe even a6 at some point to stop knight g5. It would be lovely even to maybe exchange off the rooks and maybe play rook c8, although against the IQP, generally you want to keep the heavy pieces on the board because heavy pieces are the pieces that can put long-term pressure on this weakness on d4. It will be, again, not so easy for black to convert, but black is surely better. We can check with the engine whether we are right. Yes, minus 0.5 says the engine and gives some random move, like h6, of course, as discussed. I mean, even this is fine. Even this is fine. Machine gives knight g5. I assume it sort of invites for g6. Okay, but she doesn't play like that. I guess maybe that's also last round. She doesn't want to play maybe so committally. I have no idea. But she plays passively so far. And that's a good thing, of course, for us. I like his time management, by the way. He doesn't waste so much time. He needs to be careful because now new things are happening. New piece adjustments are there. So maybe, I mean, knight e5s are potentially there as well if the bishop throws like this. So Logan needs to be careful in finding a good plan right now. Goes back to d5 with a knight. Interesting. Ah, because this was the real threat, of course. d5. Probably good. Probably good move. That pawn can be a later target if white ever plays a4, for example. Right? But I guess it's not happening anytime soon. Again, I'm just giving you my direct observations without engine help. Knight a5 might be annoying for us if white ever can get this knight on c6, but I still don't see that. We have like still good control on that square. I would like to see Luft at some point. Yeah, knight e2 back. It's interesting. He plays very quickly here. I mean, is it still tilted? Why this quickly? He's maybe trying to stop knight e4. But the sheer speed of his moves is concerning to my eyes. Sheer speed. It's kind of confusing. It almost feels like he wants the tournament to finish as soon as possible, right? That's also what happens, by the way, when you're tilted, right? Because you lost 3 games in a row. I can't stand this. I want to just make moves so I don't lose on time. And, you know, this tournament will end soon. But that's also a recipe for disaster because you can just blunder in a single move. For example, it's not so obvious whether black is improved the last 3 or 4 moves. But I like h6 finally to stop this business. Also give a look for the king just in case. Knight c3. White challenged that beautiful knight on d5. That's a good move. I mean, she's a good fighter. She's fighting well. He's fighting well for sure. So Logan's new target is the pawn on d4. I guess knight e4 must be played to put pressure on the bishop. And hope for repetition. I hope we won't accept the repetition, by the way, if that happens. I mean, knight e4 is actually multi-purpose because knight can also do this. So it's sort of forced. Rook c2. Are there some tactics here? Are there some tactics? Maybe takes and e5 is the thought. Yeah, so whenever those pieces are lined up like that, we have to come back to that moment, by the way. Whenever those pieces are lined up like that, e5 becomes a potential option. But I guess even this is solid for black to challenge the only open file. But now knight e4. Now knight e4 and wow, she's exchanging more pieces. That's interesting. That's interesting. Because I don't see... Wow, she's exchanging all the pieces. Is it like queen c3? Is that the point? Maybe she thinks that this is holdable for white. Logan needs to slow down first of all. Like here is a critical moment. I hope he slows down. He's like 6 minutes left on his clock. Wow, he's just playing so fast. This is insane. This is insane how fast he's playing. Okay, this is tilt. There's no other explanation because now he allows c4. He now allows c4. My God, he's playing so fast. He's totally psychologically... None of these moves are obvious, by the way. None of these moves were obvious, guys. Can you see how tilted? I think both of them are tilted, by the way. Like there were so many potential exchange opportunities, pawn structure changes, exchanging on our own terms, weakness awareness. Like there are so many rich decisions that could be made at that moment. And these guys play this segment almost like a bullet game. Incredible. Incredible. All the big committal decisions just happened in nanoseconds. I can't believe my eyes. I really cannot. I mean, that's the only explanation. Tilt, stress, nothing else. If you look at the engine, still black is slightly better. But yeah. You see, for example, it's just missing moves like e5, which engine says is winning for black because he doesn't think. He doesn't think. He just makes without thinking. And now, of course, as I said, c4 is on the board, I guess. Yeah, white is completely fine because their king became a better king. Incredible. And now he even allows a5. This is crazy. He even plays a5 and he creates a big pawn on his camp. I can't believe my eyes, guys. I really cannot. I mean, that's the only explanation. That's the only explanation. It's just tilt. Goes on to show you what a crazy mechanism this tilt is. He played without thinking. He played extremely fast, first of all, without thinking. I think it was now affected by Vtom game because Vtom played without thinking against Logan and he won. He got rewarded by playing too fast against my student, and now he's tilted. He plays without thinking. Chess is so hard. That's why chess is a sport. There are so many sporty dimensions in real-time competitions, especially in rapid games, of course, right? But God, this was hard to watch for me as a coach because everything you talk about, everything you say in terms of thought process, right? Like now he's making moves like this, for example, moves like this. I mean, God knows, he might even lose this. Incredible, incredible, incredible. I cannot believe my eyes, honestly, of how quickly he went for his endgame, how quickly he played, exchanged all the pieces, moved the king up. There were so many choices along the way, so many. I think it's if one side is winning, it's white because of this pawn on a5. It's only white who can win this potentially. Crazy, just crazy. If it will draw, it will be a repetition, guys. Hopefully, they will repeat. I'm not happy because he has 6 minutes on his clock. He has 6 minutes on his clock, and he made all the committal decisions without any thought. That's what I'm not happy about. Otherwise, he played a very good tournament overall. It's also hard to explain, because if you look at his first 3 games, confidence, crushing moves, middle game masterpieces, great calculations. But then this happens. That's also something I will talk with David Prus, maybe even Ramirez, to see whether they talked about tilt, whether they even like talked in between the rounds. I mean, it's so hard to do because it's only like 5 minutes between the rounds, right? But what could have been done to maybe remedy this problem? I mean, simply playing too fast is not solving the problem. They draw, by the way, and in a repetition, it's a good result because he could have lost it as well. I think I'll be sharing the 4th place with Dina. That's my hunch, but we'll see. I think Ramirez won, and then I think Gotham will come. You need to watch the actual broadcast, yeah, to understand. Ozdek is playing. Yeah, I think Nick Sans is very happy. He had a good tournament. He didn't. He might get the first 3 seats. I think Ramirez, Gotham, and Nick Sans, right? Top 3. Yeah, we can just wait until the final standings are finished, and maybe even coach standings are declared. I have no idea because you can't. I mean, you can't see them, right? You can't see them there. Yeah, that was sad to watch. That was sad to watch, and it's mostly about the tilt part that was sad to watch because he had so much more potential. And we worked on that. We worked on the thing that he was supposed to get better, namely converting advantageous positions. He lost today 2 crucial games against tournament leaders in a winning endgame where he had 2 minor pieces for 1 rook, right? That's a crazy part. He was winning in both endgames, 2 minors versus a rook, but also short on time in the second game. He blundered the tactic. He played way too quickly, also in the second one, and he just flipped at that moment. When more care was called for, when more calculation was called for, and games are also about calculation, yeah, he slipped at that moment. So that's the thing that is sad because we worked on that. I identified that as a potential area of improvement. So that really makes me sad in that sense. Yeah, but I'm also sort of happy that this is over because it was a tough period as well for me. A pretty tough month. I mean, quite intense with lessons, with life events happening like in some not so good directions. Not a bad deal, but yeah, I had some rough time in September, guys. So it's good that this is over, so we can focus on other things. But I thoroughly enjoyed the event. I mean, this was a great initiative from chess.com. Very enjoyable to participate. I hope it will continue again in the future, by the way. I would love to take part again. And I will probably talk to David Prus and Ramirez to get their tips as very serious chess coaches themselves, to get their tips on what they did, what they think have worked to become better coaches and to help our students even more. And expecting your feedback as well, please write to me on YouTube as well on this video. Your thoughts, your observations, what you thought was the key factor for the entire tournament. And then, yeah, there's of course also luck involved. There's so many things we cannot control. How they slept, what they ate, personality traits, whether they can get tilted. There's so many conditions. You also need to be lucky, of course, in this kind of rapid events. So we cannot fully blame ourselves either. Not the students as well, because they were facing so much stress as well with all the cameras, people watching, the world is watching for the first time ever. So first of all, my kudos goes to the students. I mean, it's just amazing bravery even to accept to participate in this tournament themselves. So they deserve the biggest credit. And I'm happy if I set my students to a good path for improvement in the future, because that's all it counts to me, right? I don't want to only give them good tips for on this month, but also for the future, to set them in the right directions for real growth. Maybe a 4th seat I will receive, which is a okay thing actually, yeah? If you think about that. Once again, Ramirez, Gotham, Nick Sans, and then I assume it's me and Dina Belenka will be sharing. White won this? That's insane. Wait, Black was winning this. Black was completely winning this, and Black butchered this. Incredible. Incredible. Asma Oda. Andras Todd student. Well done. Did it really well in the final round. Well done. Good fighting spirit for her. Great fight. Yeah, Ozek still finished second, by the way. So Arthur gets the same points. Look at this. Masky Chess beat Vitom in the end. Because he didn't have much to fight for, I assume. He was lost. White was completely lost, and he won. Oh no, sorry. Black won here. White sacrificed something, and there's no compensation, and then they lost in the end. Did they go for something crazy because they were complacent? Yeah, they went for this B4 line. What's this? Okay, could be something. Could be like real prep by Ramirez. Thank you so much for everything, guys. As we close this session, I need to check which seat I took in the end. And see you later, okay? Logan is here. Yes. Carlos is also here. My students. I'm proud of you, Logan.
Bye bye everybody. See you soon.